Not TV.
And a body for love. Hello and welcome to Warden Law in unbelievably relatively sunny northeast of England for the O-Plate Rotax Championship, the MSUK Championship. I'm here, I'm Nick Damon, I'm with Joe Bradley. Joe, what do we expect to see today?
We're expecting to see the start of what's going to end up being a very intense competition, Nick. The British O-Plate means so much. There's quite an accolade, there's quite a prestige to winning this weekend. This afternoon we've got the first of the heats. Each of our competitors will have 2 heats, and the heats all go towards qualifying for the very important tomorrow's finals.
Yeah, we've got about 3 hours of heat action today, and don't forget all these heats are races, so the guys are racing against each other for the best possible position in the finals and the pre-finals tomorrow. But give us a bit of an idea about this track, Warden Law. Talk about the event, how it came to be here in the northeast.
Well, it's a MSUK, a Motorsport UK sanctioned event. It's kind of a one-off British Championship. You know, there's a lot of prestige goes towards the 6-round British Championship, but this is why this weekend is so intense, Nick, because it's make or break. You've got one chance at it, and you know it's all down to how you go across from this point on. We've had qualifying. We're seeing the guys just gridding up now. They've kind of they know where they are, and they'll be wanting to try to improve their grid positions for tomorrow's final by racing well now. Add into that a little bit of tyre management. The tyres that we see these karts on right now, they'll be exactly the same tyres. This is not Formula One. We're not going to throw tyres at this. We've got to make these tyres last. So these guys are going to be driving very, very quickly and intensely. However, in the back of their head, they've got to be managing the tyres and getting them to last. For, as I say, I can't emphasise enough the intensity of tomorrow's finals. I think I've peaked too early, to be honest.
I think you have. Now, we have 4 classes here. The common factor is the engine, the Rotax engine. Just explain to the viewers, what are the 4 classes and the differences?
Well, we've got mini-maxes. They're for 9 to 12-year-olds. Then we go to the other junior class, aptly named the junior Rotax class. They're from 13 to 16. And then, as early as you can move into seniors. And what we find is, you know, you can sometimes have a 15-year-old that's as tall and as big as us.
Yeah.
So they become...
Well, not as big as us, but...
well, they become disadvantaged. So you see kids moving into that class at, say, 15 in the year of their 16th birthday. And we've actually got some 15 and 16-year-olds running in the seniors. There are 2 categories of seniors, and that's basically down to weight. We've got the senior Rotax 162 class running at 162 kilograms and the 177 class. The carts that we have appearing around us, this is one of 3 groups. We've got so many senior Rotaxes, we've got to split them into 3 groups to get them through the heats. And right now we've got groups B and C out today. We're going to see, we'll see each competitor twice, but we'll have 3 heats for the 162 seniors. It's going to be great.
Well, you're getting a good view of the karts forming behind us. We've done a bit of work this morning by Joe, so we'll have some little inserts. We'll tell you a bit more about the karts, a bit more about the stars, a bit more about the celebration. Let's have a quick shift at an engine while we can. This is a Rotax. This is what it's all about. Now, the other thing it's all about, of course, Joe, is all about this fantastic Warden Law track. And between us, we managed to do I thought a relatively good track guide. So you see the track guide now?
Yeah, let's have a look at that.
The Warden Law kart circuit, situated just south of the city of Sunderland on the northeast coast of England, presents 1,200 metres of what is a very fast and very technically challenging track. Off the main straight and into the first turn, very, very daunting here. Shall I lift or can I take it flat? That's a question that everyone's going to be asking this weekend. And then into the equally as fast turn 2 of Brian's Bend. This very quickly leads into the dogleg, a double apex right-hander, and then a very short straight into the left-hander at St John's. All important to keep that momentum up. Then into the first of the centre hairpin, it leads very quickly into the second centre hairpin, and out of that it's towards the back chicane. It's a right-left, right chicane using all of the curb on the exit to maximise that speed down the back straight. Well, I say straight, it's not a straight at all. It's a right-hand sweep that takes you towards the Gasworks hairpin. A downhill 180-degree right-hander that then quickly leads onto the never-ending horseshoe. Then 3 apex, apex 1, apex 2, apex 3, and then on to the final turn, the paddock hairpin, the all-important, because that leads to cross the finish line, and that's a lap of Warden Law. Well, we were here back in February for the first return of competition karting here, Joe. In the intervening, 18 months? Well, it's been a pandemic. And now we're here for the Rotax O-Plate. I mean, give us an idea, what's been going on here for the last year and a half?
When we came here last year, Nick, in that February, was the first club karting, the first competitive karting, competition karting that we'd seen at Warden Law in the North East for 7 years. Warden Law wasn't used as a competition kart circuit. It was basically a hire kart thing. Karting North East is still here. You can still come and sample their karts. However, the new owner, Matt Hunter, who took over the ownership of the facility in September of 2019, the two Hunter boys, former champions, the current O-Plate in senior Rotax that we're about to see go out and give us our first heat, Kai Hunter, he is the current O-Plate winner, the holder of the current O-Plate, and he will carry the O-Plate this weekend. He was very embedded in karting, and the one thing that Matt wanted to do was bring competitive karting back, and we've seen an evolution process here at Warden Law that has just seen the track facilities have increased, they've improved, they've developed, they've been modernised, they've been brought up to regulation standard. You'll see the collecting areas, the parc fermé areas, even down to the way that the track lineage has all been improved and brought up to date. And Matt has done an absolutely outstanding job. We were here in February, and then we obviously COVID hit. And nothing happened, really. And then there was a compacted season. We saw a round of the British Championships come here last year, Nick. This is the next biggest one, though, the O-Plate. We've got another round of the British Championships. That's over 6 rounds, though. This is kind of a weekend British Championship. You've got everybody who's anybody here in Rotax karting that has come here this weekend. And I'm going to say, you know what? This is a word I'm going to say a lot of. It's going to be intense. And as we get through this afternoon, all right, we've got the first of the heats. Everybody will have 2 heats this afternoon. But as we get into tomorrow, when we get towards those finals, that's when we'll see the intensity. And you'll just, we use the term body language a lot, don't we, when we're talking about race cars and here we can actually see the body language of the drivers actually on the karts. And that is something that we're going to see. We'll see the level of aggression, the level of controlled aggression, the intensity of the driving, the intensity of the racing. It's going to start just increasing until boiling point.
Now, those of you who are up to date with the timetable which was published during the week, we are running a little bit late. Unsurprisingly, the qualifying has produced a little bit of controversy, so they are actually still sorting out the grid for this massive, packed senior Rotax 162 class, so that's why there's still a little bit of consternation about who should be where as they roll off. Don't forget the qualifying was to provide your position in these heat races, and as I said before, it is a race, so the points you get from these 2 heats will count towards your position in the pre-final. We were very unlucky, the place in the repechage, which starts tomorrow morning. Just a quick chance now while we look at the drivers were beginning to suit up and helmet up, is to say thanks to our various sponsors here. First of all, thank you very much to Matt, of course, who runs Karting North East and Warden Law. JM and Sport 21. We'll obviously have a bit more of a chat about these guys during the time of this weekend. The Electric Centre and Slater's Electricals. And, of course, the North East Business Systems are backing it as well. And, of course, Motorsport UK, because obviously without Motorsport UK, this wouldn't be happening.
And without the support from our sponsors, Nick, we wouldn't be able to share this on a live stream.
No.
This is how we're able to bring you this event live in sound and vision from the moment we go competitive with the first heats all the way through to tomorrow's finals. And it's a big thanks to all of our supporters for that.
You know how you said you could fill for hours?
Yeah.
Well, I've just noticed they're actually taking there's obviously more they're taking their coats off. I'm now starting to worry about our booking for dinner.
Well, I'm a little bit sort of up in the air, Nick, because I haven't been handed a grid sheet. However,
they haven't been handed one either.
However, we have the grid in front of us, so we've got a bit of an idea.
Do we?
Before I give you a little bit of a rundown, because I haven't got the times that these guys and girls have achieved in their qualifying session. So before we go to that, let's give you an idea of what we're going to do this afternoon. So we're going to start with senior Rotax 162s, then we go to Minimax, they're the 9 to 12-year-olds. Then we're going to go to junior Rotax, that's going to be the 13 to 16-year-olds. Then we're back with the senior Rotax, this time with the first of the heats for the 177 class, that's the heavier class.
I like them already.
Well, that's where you and I would fit.
I think
we need a 200 class.
I'm too heavy for it.
Maybe a 250 class.
I made a major mistake of treading on that weighbridge outside.
Oh, don't do that, mate.
Yeah, because obviously after the race, the carts have to come into the weighbridge and to make sure they're obviously underway. And it's very simple.
Very, very accurate.
Yeah, well, I kind of hoped it was overreading by about 7 or 8 kilograms because I walked on that and went, oh, gosh, that's not good news.
Well, I needed it to be overeating about 25 kilograms, so even more so. So after the last of the 177s, I should say the first heat for the 177s, we've got another senior Rotax 162, and then we go through the rotor again. Minimax, junior Rotax, the senior Rotax 177s, and then we round off the afternoon with the third heat for senior Rotax 162s. But I'll tell you what I mean by that. We haven't got 3 groups. We haven't got 3 heats for separate groups. We've got 3 groups split into 3 heats. We'll get more of that later on. Hey, I've been given a grid sheet.
Wow.
He's going to need oxygen, Mr. Magnus. He's been running up and down. I can't do sign language, mate. Know what I'm talking. So we've got the pole position of Lewis Gilbert, a 49.1, Nick. The track condition. We've been talking to everybody in the paddock, and they're telling me that the track is rubbering up.
Well,
do you know what rubbering up means?
Sticky when you walk on it.
It's very sticky. Yes. You don't want to fall over there. You can't. It takes the edge off your trainers. That's for sure. So Lewis Gilbert will start Heat 1 on pole position with alongside him local lad Kai Hunter from Holtenley Spring. Kai, as I mentioned, current O-plate holder. Lewis Gilbert on the number 29. Second row of the grid will be Reese Hurd. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, Kai Hunter's time, 49.252, literally hundredths between first and second. It continues to be tight as we go to third place. Reese Hurd, cart 59, a 49.311. And then alongside him, Tristan Rennie in the number 47, a 49.341. Look how tight that is. Fifth on the grid will be Matty Hingley in number 11. Lewis Harvey is in cart 74 in sixth. Fourth row of the grid is Matthew Higgins in the number 75. Then we've got in 8th place Chris Simpson in the number 49. Ben Kearsley is 9th. Kieran Kay is 10th. Row 6, Tom Adams in the number 7 is 11th. Magic Hamera is in 12th place, and his number is 12, aptly. Brandon Klein Nagelvort is on row 7 in 13th, with alongside him Spencer Shinner in the number 25 in 14th.
So it's single fastest lap, is it, for the qualifying? It's not a qualifying heat. It's just the single fastest lap.
Yeah, we've already had a qualifying session, and it's basically pure pace. It's how you did. It's how well you did.
That explains why they're all giving space to each other during that. I wasn't quite sure why they were doing that with this.
Well, wasn't it fascinating when the carts were released into their qualifying session, and some of the carts were held back by their crew, by their mechanic. And I had a chat to one of the mechanics, and he told me it was purely down to finding space. Now, you don't want to find too much space because you still need there is a thing called a toe around here. These carts do slipstream.
Wow.
Into turn 1, Nick, they're doing 75 miles an hour.
Good point, yeah.
Yeah, they're making a big hole in the air. So there is such a thing as a toe, and it was quite tactical to watch that. And this is how serious we are. We're at the very top end of elite karting nationally. This is a national championship.
Do you know how I know we're at the top end of a motorsport? Because there's a delay because of an argument.
Yeah,
ever anything indicates we're at the top level of motorsport, it's delayed because of an argument.
So someone is deliberating that they went faster than they actually have been.
Well, the guy in position 5, as a second ago, has been wheeled off the grid.
Ah, that's Matty Hingley.
So
what number car was he? Did you notice?
I thought he was 11, but I could be wrong.
Oh yeah, well that's what I've got on my grid sheet.
Yeah, so he's wheeled himself off. obviously we should have a replay of it, shouldn't we? An action replay of someone himself off the grid. Just so you know, we should have started racing about 10 minutes ago. But yeah, it's there's a kind of a relaxed atmosphere. One of the nice things is, and I'm most surprised by this, is actually this weather is relatively pleasant. Because I've been up here on a couple of previous occasions, both of which would have seen Ernest Shackleton saying it's a bit parky. But now we get the sun out. It's very interesting because today we had a bit of rain when we got here at 9 o'clock, and the first of the open practices were damp, weren't they, really? And then slowly it's got warmer and drier and drier and drier. So these two heats are going to be in pretty good conditions, I would think. Probably nice, warm, but not overly heated tarmac. Good conditions for the karts, not too hot, so a bit of decent air getting in the airboxes. That's not what we're getting tomorrow. Tomorrow we know we're getting rain. The only question is when. Now we start with the finals at 10 to 11 tomorrow morning, and they'll run on till about 3, just after 3 o'clock. And the rain is forecast to start about 11 o'clock.
It's not, man, Nick. It's not, honestly.
It is.
It's not. I know you didn't believe me when I said it's sunny and warm whenever you've been on the phone.
No.
And I know, because the last time you were here, all your crew almost got frostbitten, didn't they?
They asked for extra money because they were so cold.
Well, February,
I don't like that.
Just so everybody's aware, Warden Law is situated just south of the city of Sunderland, which is situated on the northeast coast. And we're only about a mile, and we're quite on high ground. And if you look across the horizon, you can actually see the North Sea. And if you point slightly to the left, you just bypass Scandinavia, and that's the Arctic Circle that you're pointing at.
So explain to me how come when I came here in July a week or so ago, it was also incredibly wet and cold.
Well, it really was, and we'd had 3 weeks of drought, and the grass here at the track looked like I was at Parma or somewhere in Italy. It had gone brown, and then you came, and it rained. You brought the rain, and it wasn't just rain, it was cold, wasn't it? And you just didn't believe me, did you?
It was absolutely amazing. It was completely as wet as can be.
Well, you know what, Nick? We've got absolutely ideal conditions. We've got the cloud beginning to break. The temperatures are rising. It's about 18 degrees at the moment. I've seen a forecast for about highs of 20. That's going to give us a perfect track condition. And as long as the conditions are consistent, everyone will be happy. Because there's nothing worse than going out onto a dry track on slick tyres and then it rains. We don't do pit stops in karting. The races are too short. It's a 10-minute race with one lap. So 10 minutes and one lap. That's how long the races last. So you don't come in and change tyres because it'll be over by the time you changed onto wets. So you've got to be out there on the slick tyres on a slick track. And for us, watching TV pictures, everything goes into slow motion. Everyone has immediately got 1,000 brake horsepower, but they're only doing 5 miles an hour. It really is incredible. We don't want to see that. We want to see these guys optimised. We want to see all of our competitors have a great run. And there are a lot of competitors here, a lot of boys and girls here who are here because they want to compete at the O Plate. It's not about winning. It's about how well you do. There's a lot of local drivers. We're going to meet one of them that's made a major comeback. Former club champion, Jay Taylor, is here in the 177 class. And he's come back because it's the O Plate, because he wants to be in the O Plate. And that's the prestige of this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly got a kind of a frisson about the whole event, which is rapidly being diffused by a delay. But, this is the world of any conversational karting issue. It is competitive. You've come here. There's an investment in being here. You can see by the colours of the kart that many of them are members of team, and being part of a team is a key thing. And so, therefore, what they're looking to do is gain the best, fair advantage. So they feel they've been wrongly timed. They're going to be having that conversation about getting themselves further up the grid, aren't they?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's how serious it is. It's serious business. And you only have to walk through the paddock and see how much money is being invested by all of the competitors here. They're being run by teams. I'm not sure if I see any privateers. I haven't seen in the entry list that we have any privateers. And literally, they are from the length and breadth of the United Kingdom. We've got people from Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, and even down as far as the south coast, Cornwall and Devon. It is a true, pure national championship round.
So I could obviously go out and buy a card. I'd have to be in the Rotax 225 kilogram version.
Yes,
but so what's the advantage of running in a team then? Why would you want to be in a team? Because obviously it involves more financial investment to be part of that team. So what's the advantage? Well,
you've got a lot of information coming off running a kart. You've got data from the engine, how the engine's running, what revs you're pulling, how the engine punches out of the corners, how the tyres are working, what tyre pressures do you use. And these karts are fully set up. All right, they haven't got suspension, they haven't got dampers and springs, etc., like a racing car has, but they're very, very close to that. And we change cambers, we change caster angles, we change track, there's lots of variation on what you can actually do to set up the kart to maximise the performance and the grip through corners. So if you're running by yourself, little Nick Damon going around with his kart, and you're kind of...
Well, like the little bit was good.
Well, yeah, I've taken off some weight, mate. You're in the 200 class. If you're running around and you are trying to set up your kart, can you imagine coming back into the paddock and having 10 other teammates who've just done the same? And they've accrued all of that information. Let's call it data, because that's what we like to talk about. And these teams have data engineers. They've even got computer systems measuring certain things on karts, throttle traces, brake traces, grip, steering inputs. And you can compare. So you compare what the fastest driver's doing in the team, and you've got all of that information, and you get to that optimized setup in a much quicker process. And if you speak to any of the competitors, it's worth the money to be with a team for that reason. And also, let's not forget, you've got people like in this paddock, like Steve Ogden. You've got mechanics who have been around karting forever. You know, I've just seen a old mate of mine, Lee Cook, who's working for a team. You've got Lee Taylor, who's working for Strawberry. These lads have been working in karting for 20 plus 30 years. And all of that experience is what you buy. So if you're going to bring, your 12-year-old into the sport and you want to compete at the highest level and you want to go further in. Remember, Nick, this is the bottom of the ladder. This is where everybody starts. If you look at the current Formula One field, I'm trying hard to think of who didn't start in karts.
Yeah.
Yeah, answers on the postcard, please. Who didn't start in karts in the current Formula One field? This is where they started. And so if you want your son, your daughter to... the potential of a career in motorsport, you've got to start here, because the amount of experience that they can accrue from the ages of 8 years old, starting in cadets, through to moving into cars when they're, potentially 14 in Ginetta Juniors, then this is where you have to start. And that's why it's intensely competitive. That's why we've got a delay, because we're still deliberating over who's where on the grid.
So looking at this, which of course is the Senior Rotax 162, which is the major class here as far as the numbers are concerned. How many of these guys are in the stepping stone part of the race, and how many actually are, this is what they do for a living now? They are karters, they run kart teams, they also run in this championship.
I see a lot of competitors here that are here during school time. Let's say. I'm not going to say too much more on that. I'll get some parents into trouble if I do, and I'm not going to name names. But yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure. We have the commentators' information sheets that we come across, and usually it's job title, and you get schoolboy, student. The kids are still at school. I mean, if you think about, 7-time Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton started in karting, and he would get special tutoring because he would always be away. He'd be away from the Wednesday for a major championship. He'd be away from the Wednesday. And so he would still have to accrue an education. And we see a lot of that. To answer your question, Nick, I don't know. It's hard to put a number on that. And just, you'd have to really have a private conversation with some of the parents and say, so why are you doing this? Are you, is that where you're projecting? Is that what you see potentially coming from this? I would say there's a lot of doing it for doing its sake. It's part of being a part of a sport, an activity. We call it, dad and lad karting, isn't it? You come along and your dad's your engineer and he's your mechanic, and then and this is the Hunter boys actually, Reese Hunter's carrying the number 2 because he was second in last year's British Championship. Kai Hunter carrying the O plate. He was last year's O plate winner. This is exactly how those two boys started. Matt, their dad, would be their mechanic, and they came here to Warden Law and raced in club meetings a few years ago, and then they got better and better and thought, let's see how we go on the national scene, and they're very good. And both of those lads now running with Dan Holland Racing. Matt saw where he needed to put them because he was stifling them. Mm-hmm. So you put them in a team where they can optimise their abilities and their skill, and there's quite a number of top-level British karters here this weekend in all of our classes. We are at the very elite part of British karting right now this weekend.
So Warden Law, one of the obviously where we're at the moment. It's an interesting. This is a one-off track. It rotates, isn't it? The Rotax O plate gets awarded different tracks each year, doesn't it?
Yes. I think last year's. I'm not sure if last year's was at the Mansell Raceway.
Not sure last year's happened.
I'm not sure if last year's happened. Yeah, I think it did. Of course it did. That was the one where quite a story actually, because Kai Hunter took the win on the track, but was awarded a 5-second penalty, which handed it to guess who? His brother Reese. Yes, they had a 1-2. It went to appeal at the venue, and then about an hour after that, I think an hour, maybe even longer, there was a deliberation, and the penalty was reduced, and Kai took the O-plate. Can you imagine dinner in the Hunter household that week?
Household, yeah, it must be daggers.
Try having a game of Monopoly around the table with that lot. I tell you,
yeah,
it never ends well.
It'd be just a terribly terse conversation over the fish fingers, wouldn't it? Really?
Yeah, and you know what? You've just said that, and I think that's what makes the O-plate here at this weekend at Warden Law an even bigger event. Because it may be some years before we get the O-plate back, because the Motorsport UK will share the love with regards to where they place the O-plate. So we might have to wait a decade before we see the O-plate back, and that just adds to, especially the local drivers who race here all of the time. They'll want to get their best finish so they can say, I was in the top 10.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily about winning. It's at the front of the grid. You speak to those guys at the front of the grid, and it's all about winning.
I think the argument is solved, by the way.
It looks like we've got a bit of movement. Have we got drivers putting their helmets on?
Yeah, the argument has been solved. Well, the man now with an MSUK top is wandering down the phalanx of carts and is attempting to work out who should be where.
Right. Still missing the number 11 of Matty Hingley.
He went off in the half, I think.
Oh, right.
I don't know if he did at all.
Yeah.
He was running about third or fourth. Heard Michael Hetherington, heard Jay Grimster, heard John Tuller. If you're watching on Facebook, go across to our YouTube feed, because that's where I'm monitoring the comments, and so I will be able to talk to you about that. If you're on Facebook, hello. If you're on YouTube, hello. And you've so far enjoyed 27 minutes of Joe and I talking to ourselves. So effectively, really, basically what you're enduring is Joe and I, normal conversation. Perhaps we're going to catch a plane or we're on a car, just chatting about stuff.
This is actually the kind of stuff we talk about when we're not even on air.
Yeah,
this is the kind of conversation we have. I know. This is call us geeks if you want.
I was going, sleep in the car. Yeah, well, are you in a team yet? No, okay, fine.
You mentioned we've seen the track map, Nick, and we saw the nature of the Warden Law track a few minutes ago. There is no doubt about it. This is one of the most physical, if not the most physical tracks, physically, I mean, from a driver's sense. Yes, it'll take, we've got long straights, we've got very fast corners. Turn 1 here at Warden Law is one of the most daunting corners you'll ever have in karting. It's nigh on flat out in top speed after a long straight off the start finish. You are absolutely maximised. 75 to 80 miles an hour is what we're timing them at. And then you turn into turn 1 with barely a lift, maybe a little dab on the brake just to settle the rear end. But you're going through this turn 1 here in front of us at 70 miles an hour. Now, the physicality of that on the body, your head's trying to leave your shoulders, and you are keeping yourself up. And there's a reason why the majority of people on that grid are under 35 years of age. It's a very, very physical activity. We're going to see the physicality of the sport coming into play by the time we get to the final. It's not just about tyre management. It's also a bit about driver management, and also about keeping your head right and not letting, keeping the focus, keeping the concentration going, not being dragged into something that you don't need to be, and just managing yourself across the day, making sure you're hydrated. I mean, some teams have got like physios and stuff here this weekend, and they're going to be managing drivers, the likes of which, Nick, we've seen at, big events like the Le Mans 24 Hours, where, the team MSUK and the team physios will look after the drivers. We're going to see a bit of that. We're going to see certainly
we've got a
MSUK
later.
No, we haven't.
Well, it's quite warm in this
box.
box.
It's not very physical sitting here, is it?
Oh, I don't know. It's quite hard.
It is warm. I told you it got warm here, didn't I?
It's just it's just a sweat box. I think it's to be honest.
So we are still waiting, ladies and gentlemen. We're still waiting for information to say when we will get things running. We're waiting with our senior Rotax groups B and C on the grid for their first heat of the weekend. After that will be the Mini-Max runners. That's the 9 to 12-year-olds, and they'll be quickly followed by our junior Rotax class, and then the senior Rotax 177. Small grid for the 177s, but very, very competitive. We're going to see, I've always had the saying, Nick, that you only need 2 cars to make a motor race, and we've got 7 in the field, I believe, this weekend. So, and they are very, very closely packed through qualifying. Lap times very, very close. And the karts in the 177 class that didn't quite get to the right end of the grid, you just know that right now they're going through all of those settings and looking at the data to see just how they can eke a little bit more track performance out on the track. We've got marshals moving to their post, so maybe that's a sign.
It's got marshals moving to points, but there's some drivers sitting in karts, but still they haven't got to the point of actually zipping up their overalls.
No.
Putting the helmets on. I mean, you wouldn't want to do it too early, because I keep saying this is actually significantly warmer than I ever expected up here in the northeast. It's amazing. Motor Racing UK say excellent track guide, chaps. Well, thank you very much. If you knew how that was done, it was chaps. It was both of us.
Take 22.
Would have been there. The camera notepad had COVID not entered the house. James, if you're listening, any chance of throwing in that track guide again, because we can then come off the back of it and explain a bit more? So let's have another look whilst we wait for it to start. Let's have another look around this track, because honestly, you'll be seeing actual karts going round soon. The Warden Law kart circuit, situated just south of the city of Sunderland on the northeast coast of England, presents 1,200 metres of what is a very fast and very technically challenging track. Off the main straight and into the first turn, very, very daunting here. Should I lift or can I take it flat? That's a question that everyone's going to be asking this weekend. And then into the equally as fast turn 2 of Brian's Bend. This very quickly leads into the dogleg, a double apex right-hander, and then a very short straight into the left-hander at St John's. All important to keep that momentum up. Then into the first of the centre hairpin, it leads very quickly into the second centre hairpin, and out of that, it's towards the back chicane. It's a right-left-right chicane using all of the curb on the exit to maximise that speed down the back straight. Well, I say straight, it's not a straight at all. It's a right-hand sweep that takes you towards the Gasworks hairpin. A downhill 180-degree right-hander that then quickly leads onto the never-ending horseshoe. Then 3 apex, apex 1, apex 2, apex 3, and then on to the final turn, the paddock hairpin, the all-important, because that leads to cross the finish line, and that's a lap of Warden Law. Well, that was me being Joe's ventriloquist dummy. Because Joe actually recorded that track guide on his phone. And then when we came to do the edit, the sound wasn't good enough.
You're spoiling the magic, Nick.
I love spoiling.
You're spoiling the
magic. It's what I
magic.
do. I spoil magic.
You're not going to mention 22 takes, are you?
No.
I called the horseshoe, the dogleg, the horseshoe.
It was a long process. Honestly, it took me about 2 goes because I stuck it on YouTube. It's got the subtitles. Just read it out. Okay, fine, off we go.
So I read the script. I wrote the script.
Basically, yeah. Helmets on. Helmets on. This is getting exciting now, isn't it?
Right.
And some shuffling going on. Let's have a little bit of a chat about how we're able to waffle on our own here.
Yeah, it was giving us this opportunity.
And the first people are talking is Sport 21, JM Littman. I'm not allowed to contractually say what the JM stands for. It's John Mark. I can't say what it is. JM Littman.
Sammy Moutran's involved as well.
Is he?
Yeah,
brilliant.
He's a partner.
Well, you better explain the whole thing because you know.
Well, Sport 21. You'll see the banners out on track. Sport 21, and a big thanks to JM Littman for enabling us by supporting. It enables us to bring you this event live. And what is Sport 21? Well, Sport 21 is kind of a driving agency. It's a race driving agency where over the years, JM, who is an amateur racer himself, he's done everything from the Nürburgring 24 hours, Dubai 24 hours.
What was his first race experience?
Was that a catering?
No, it was dogs. He's
that's
a
right.
top
Yeah,
dog sled driver.
He was racing in dog sleds, wasn't he? And what JM has done, and along with the other partner, Sammy Moutran, who again is an amateur racer, a former 24-8 series champion, they've realised that there are lots of pitfalls and things that you can be caught out when you are wanting to get involved in car racing, and so they can bypass all of those problems that you will encounter, the problems that they themselves encountered. So they've created this agency, and it's kind of an advisory service, but also they'll facilitate. If you go to them and you say, right, I want to drive I want to get into cars, because that's why they're getting involved in grassroots, and that's why they're sponsoring us on the O Plate, because there is a transitionary process of competitors move from karts to cars. And if you've been just in a world of karting, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Well, Sport 21 are the people that will tell you that. They'll assist you. They'll facilitate brokering drives with teams. If you want a taster, they'll pretty much all of those needs of going car racing. And the reason why they're here in karts is because some of our competitors will get to an age where they'll think, right, I want to try car racing on big tracks, on big car tracks, and that's where Sport 21 come in. And it's again, can't thank GM enough and Sammy for getting involved and supporting this event for us. So Sport 21, if you want to go car racing, Nick,
Sport 21.
Who do you call?
Well, Ghostbusters, obviously, initially. and then obviously, that's pointless, because they don't exist, and they're not involved in motorsport.
And they wouldn't have a clue about how to get you a drive in Dubai 24 hours.
Exactly, they wouldn't. No, Sport 21. And obviously, JM, we have completely forgiven you for ruining our virtual Bathurst.
We haven't. We haven't.
It's a virtual race, which also isn't kart racing, but we are about to get this marvellous sound of two strokes fired up. I think it's four strokes.
No, two strokes. Rotax, yeah. 125cc, water cooled.
Two strokes,
two-stroke motors. That's why this sounds so great, because they're absolutely screaming.
And I think the disappointing thing is, though, is how good synthetic oils have become. Because no one uses Castrol R anymore, and Castrol R is the greatest smell in the world.
Yeah, but then again, they don't seize very often these
Still
days.
prefer the smell.
Yeah. Well, I'd rather do away with the smell and not have my engine seize at the end of the end of the straight like he used to so very often in 100 National.
That happened twice to me whilst in the final at Buckmore Park at the same corner, and even after I choked it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
because that just
probably leaned in a little bit
obviously
too much.
everyone kind of knows that I am an RC racer at heart. I actually stopped RC racing in about 1989 and did 2 years of underfunded karting.
We've all done underfunded
karting was amazing. It was like literally
How old are these tyres? That's their sixth meeting.
Yeah. It was like, piston rings. What I could do. Not so sure. The way I got round it was just running a much oilier mix than everyone else.
Is that how you did it?
Yeah, forget the power. The engine won't go pink because I can't afford a new one or a rebuild.
Yeah, we all started in that.
A 100 car
that,
would fit in the back of a Ford Sierra rep car, and you with a bit of rope tying down the...
Was it... Did you risk TKM, didn't you? Formula TKM?
No, 100 Britain. 100 heavy.
Oh, 100 Britain, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And 100 heavy sometimes.
Shall we have Shall we have a...
Are they going to go anywhere? It's looking good.
I don't know. I got excited there.
You actually stopped yourself talking about yourself to actually talk about the cars. They didn't go anywhere.
I did. I'm keeping my eye on the marshal at the head of the collecting area. We haven't got any fire-ups yet. But it was so long ago that I told everybody about the grid, so I'm going to have a quick...
We've got a completely different viewership now. The other ones have actually retired.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at the grid again then, Nick.
Sorry, engines, go.
Lewis Gilbert is our pole position kart number 29, with alongside him the current O-plate holder, Kai Hunter. Third is Rhys Hurd. Fourth is Tristan Rennie. Third row of the grid is Matty Hingley and Lewis Harvey. Row 4, Matthew Higgins and Chris Simpson. Ben Kearsley and Kieran Kay on row 5. Row 6 is Tom Adams and Magic Himera. Row 7, Brandon Klein-Negelvort with Spencer Shinner alongside. Row 8 is Oscar Hoole with Archie Brown alongside him. Row 9, Jack Steadman and Andy Powell. Tom Shipman and Thomas Liatukas is on row 10. Tyler Jex and Nicole Sutherland are on row 11. And row 12 has the lone Harry Holland in the number 71, who failed to put a time in. So problems for Harry Holland. We'll keep an eye on him to see if he progresses to his rightful place. Not sure where he is on the grid. So we see the karts now out on track for what is their parade lap. And poleman, it's down to Lewis Gilbert to control the pace. They're at the final turn. They look pretty ordered. Let's see if they get the go-ahead. And it looks all nice and orderly, and we are racing indeed. The all plate starts with the first of the heats, and it's Gilbert who leads, but slipping up the inside. I think that was Reese Hurd. We'll be able to confirm that when they come back into our view. And the all plate holder, Kai Hunter, is down to fourth. Down to fourth as they come out of St John's, already at the first of the centre hairpins, through the first of the hairpins. Now the second. This is onto the back straight towards the back chicane. It's Lewis Gilbert leading. Be right on his tail is the 59 of Reese Hurd, and he will try and have a go down the back straight. That isn't a back straight. You're going to hear me say that a lot. It's actually a sweeping curve into the Gasworks hairpin, and now out through that never-ending horseshoe and into the final turn for the first time. Then 10 minutes and 1 lap then is the race duration, and across the line to complete lap number 1. Lewis Gilbert leads. Reese Hurd is in second. Kai Hunter now up to third. Chris Simpson fourth. Lewis Harvey fifth. Tristan Rennie sixth. Magic O'Meara seventh. Ben Kingsley eighth. Ninth is Tom Adams. And rounding off the top 10 is Matty Hingley, dropping down the order by 4 carts. On to lap 2 then. And they're already at the first of the centre hairpins. They've through the dogleg already. And now we've got Kai Hunter just moving onto the rear bumper of Reese Hurd. If anything, Lewis Gilbert just eking away slightly. Here's Kai Hunter down the inside and into second. He just got the momentum out of the back chicane. He made it stick on the brakes into the Gasworks. They're already out of the horseshoe and into the final turn. Now then, the question is, can Kai Hunter catch Lewis Gilbert? And remember, let's not get overly excited, because these competitors will be nursing their tyres. The rest of the field stream through turn number 1 and through Brian's Bend for the second time. Leaders already into St John's. And Lewis Gilbert it is who's pulled out a bit of a breather. It's going to be a bit of a wait before he feels any pressure from Kai Hunter, who himself has just given himself a bit of a breather, Nick. He's got about 2 carts lengths between himself and Reese Hurd, but a great start from Reese Hurd from the second row.
Yeah, fantastic start getting through, and a little bit of a kind of a kerfuffle there, which saw Hunter dropping back. I mean, are there any tactics within the 10 minutes? Is it just a sprint? I take it the tyres don't go off in this period, or are they nursing the things that will last the whole weekend?
Yeah, they are nursing them from here. You know, you talk to these guys and girls, and they'll tell you, you know, you've got to kind of restrain yourself slightly. Kai just looking over his right shoulder there to see where Reese Hurd was. He's not there, so he can settle in a bit and focus on catching the leader. But yes, they are going at quite a lick. You know, whether they're 9/10, 7/10, I'm not quite sure.
So just they come back out and round and on through the back chicane, and they sweep now into the Gasworks hairpin. It's Gilbert now from Hunter, from Hurd, with Harvey, then Rennie, then Magic Hamera, Ben Casey, Brandon Klein. And it's a nice little lead that Gilbert's got as he completes another lap. Just so you know, there's about 7 minutes and 15 seconds to go. The top right county's got a slight glitch. We'll sort that out. But there's 7 minutes, 15 seconds left. Or 6 minutes, 33 seconds left, should I say. And as they all tick by, Gilbert from Hunter, from Hurd, into the centre S's, brake hard, tip the car almost up on 3 wheels and loop round the second one. It gets obviously quite much speed into this one before you gas the thing as hard as possible. Flatten that chicane, and we got to some very, very consistent gaps now. I would say that Hunter's a little bit nearer this time, and certainly he's beginning to get onto the tail of Gilbert as they go through horseshoe. Hurd still third, Harvey still fourth, then Rennie, then Hamera. Coming over the front line, sweeping through that first corner. There's been so much running, that corner is actually sticky to walk on. I had to walk across there earlier, and it's sticky as anything. Racing away. So Gilbert, who was slightly caught, I think, by Hunter in that last lap now, is pulling away.
Yeah, Reese has gotten into his stride, hasn't he? Remember as well, Nick, that they're on slick tyres, so they're not on to their their optimum pressure, their optimum temperature. You've got to let the tyres come in, and depending on what tyre pressure the race engineers have put onto the kart will depend on how long it is before they'll become optimised and reach their operating pressure and temperature. And now we see Kai Hunter chasing down Lewis Gilbert for the lead. We've got just coming up to about 4.5 minutes remaining in this heat. It's 10 minutes and 1 lap, remember. And so we've gone through and passed half distance already. A retirement into the pits has gone the number 11. Now that was Matty Hingley.
That was the car that was pulled off the grid.
Yes, I wonder if he was pulled off for a problem.
No, it must have discovered it. Perhaps it wouldn't start up at the initial point, but then he's rolling.
And that problem's persisted there because Matty Hingley's pulled the kart off the track and into Parc Fermé. Let's have a look.
Another lap completed. Hunter, that time round, was actually 19 thousandths of a second slower than Gilbert, so he's really not trying very hard. It's an interesting thing here. These guys have got to run 2 heats in hot weather. Now, the other thing they have to bear in mind is it's possible, do they take the gamble that it's actually going to rain and at that point burn these tyres out quicker?
Well, firstly, Nick, this is the northeast coast of England, right? And even though there is every chance of every type of weather front coming through, I don't think you can, because I know you're talking about a forecast for tomorrow for the rain. So you would think, well, let's optimise these tyres and go for it. But then, as I said, it's the northeast coast, and it may not rain. So what do we do then? We've run out of tyres. So that you've got to be projecting that through, and then if it rains tomorrow, we go into the treaded tyres and we continue on, and you haven't kind of optimise the tyres that you're on.
You know Kai Hunter very well. You know the Hunter boys really, really well. Is this a watching brief and he's happy with second?
Yes.
Or he's not. He just doesn't want to take that extra bit out.
Yes, he's very, very cool, as is Reese. I'm not sure who's the coolest. I think Reese just nips the cool sort of margin by just the smallest of margins.
He's got a cool element to him.
Yeah, but right now Lewis Gilbert's controlling the pace, and Lewis Gilbert's one of the front runners in the British Championship in the Rotax 162 class. So as much as Kai is chasing him down, see Lewis Gilbert there, just looking over his right shoulder there, he's just monitoring how far Hunter is behind him, and as equally as Kai is catching Lewis knows how much pace, and they are driving very, very hard. These boys are very, very quick and know exactly what they're doing. And at this stage of the weekend, there is no reason for Lewis Gilbert to start panicking. He knows that Hunter has caught him. He's not catching him hand over fist, though. He knows he's there, but he's just controlling the pace. And I call it high-speed chess. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like playing, be patient. I always say to Kai, be patient.
If you sit there, and I think it's a question that kind of apply to all these heats. The fact is Kai's sitting in second, which means he's going to score less points than Lewis when it comes to the overall assessment of who's in pole. But is it a track you can overtake on? Is it fine to take a view that if I'm third on the grid, I can still make it happen? Or do you need to be at the front?
Well, the problem is these guys are so quick and optimised that there's very real slow corners here at Warden Law. They're all, even the slowest corners, kind of a medium speed at other places. And so you have to plan it. You sometimes have to plan it coming through where they are now. They've just gone through the first of the centres, they've gone through the second, now out towards the back chicane. This is where you need to close the gap to get the drag down. And it can start through Brian's Bend and into the dogleg. That's when you can start mapping out and plotting where you're going to make the move. And it's got to be, you've got to have a good run through that sequence of bends and just make marginal gains to get the timing right to have a run down the curve back straight and into the Gasworks hairpin. This is also, it's not really a passing place, turn one. You really have to be very, very courageous because the speed differential is next to nothing.
10th of a second pull out there. And what's happened to Kai?
I think he's pulled off. I think he's been given a mechanical flag. He's got a bumper that was loose, I'm being told. Information coming through that Kai Hunter out of second place and into the pits there, just in front of us.
Well, is that his meeting over?
No, that not be his meeting over, but certainly the heat. Now, I'm not sure whether they can maybe cable tie the bumper back on. He's disappeared.
But surely now if he comes into he'll only be able to get halfway up the grid with a good score next time round.
No, we start heat 2 for these competitors with the same times.
Right. But it's
What
about
it
scoring
will
points,
do,
though,
it's
isn't it?
about scoring points towards tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's put him right on the back foot.
Yeah.
That he is very, very much on the back foot. Lewis Gilbert, in number 29 there, looking over his shoulder for Kai Hunter, and Kai Hunter's not there. He's got a huge lead. Last time by 2.2 seconds. Now, 2.2 seconds, for all you people at home who maybe it's your first time watching karting or maybe any motorsport, you think 2.2 seconds, that's not very much. In karting, it's a lifetime. And you can see, just look at the gap there. Behind him, though, Reese Hurd, Lewis Harvey, Tristan Rennie, that's becoming a bit of a fight. Also into the pits.
Yeah,
it's from the 82.
I think we're on the last lap now, aren't we? Because I think they did cross the line prior, so this should be the... No, actually, no, because Lewis actually crossed at 9:59.8, so we had 0.2 of a second. So I think there's another lap to go. But interesting whether they call this as the last lap as he comes across now, or he's got one more to go. No, one lap's more. So one final lap, so they only have all an extra lap effectively because that 0.2 of a second.
That's how finite that was.
So let's hope no one's short of fuel.
Battle for second behind Lewis Gilbert, just beginning to develop.
Yeah, so just go. Let's keep the lead. We go a little bit wider, guys. Let's see if we can get that train of cars as well. Carts, sorry. That'll be
Yeah,
all day.
I do that.
That'll
Yeah,
be all day.
Pound in the jar.
Pound of the cart jar. So
Yeah, usually made about 30
there's
quid.
the trail of 4. We also need to keep our leader Lewis Gilbert as well, since he comes around the second and centre hairpins into the final time in through the chicane.
It's a 4-card battle, Nick. Reese Hurd, Lewis Harvey, Tristan Rennie, and Magic Amera. Those 4 cards, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We'll see. They're running out of chances for improving their position. They're through the horseshoe. Lewis Gilbert already into the final turn there, followed by that train of 4 carts. And there's Lewis Gilbert. Takes heat 1. So a very fine win from pole position was where Lewis Gilbert started.
Why are they doing another lap?
Yeah, they do a slowing down lap.
Oh, you don't just pull off at full speed, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, full speed would be very, very... that would be bad. We're sat here right on the
good point.
on the exit
make a slight mistake.
On the entrance into Park Fern.
Best case scenario is the FX mic goes.
Yeah, number 58 has pulled in, and so has the 87, and that's not what they were told in the driver briefing this morning.
Sorry, people don't listen to what we've got. Well, I think that was an excellent introduction to the track, B, the carts, B, the speed, C, the jeopardy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's 2 Bs.
We had quite a lot of everything there. We even had one of the front runners coming in. That's going to put him massively on the back foot. He'll not be happy with that.
I mean, the thing to remember is that there is what's called a pre-final tomorrow, so you get a chance to jiggle yourself forward if you've had a bad day. So it's not like he's going to have a limited number of points, start 16th, that's it. He might say start 16th in the pre-final. He can make up a few places there, make a few places again. But it is going to be a massive uphill struggle from this point.
It is, because the carts around him, where his competitors are for the overall win, and we've got to say that that Kai Hunter has come into this weekend as one of the favourites for the overall win and retain the O plate. Let's see if he can do that. Now, in 2019, Kai Hunter was the junior O plate winner. The following year, 2020, he'd moved into seniors, and again he won the O plate, this time in seniors. So he was effectively back-to-back O plate winners. He's come into this weekend, his home track, his family own the track, and this is where he wanted to do his best and win the O plate at Warden Law. That script hasn't quite gone to plan, and we will see what that does. I can tell you, though, Lewis Gilbert takes the win with second place Reese Hurd, cart 59. Number 74, Lewis Harvey, was third. Fourth was Tristan Rennie in the number 47. It was Magic Amera in the number 12, who was fifth. Ben Casely in the 53 was sixth. Matthew Higgins in the 75 was seventh. Eighth was the number 76 of Archie Brown. Tom Adams in ninth in the number 7. Cart 73, Kieran Kay was 10th. Harry Holland in the number 71 was 11th. Jack Stedman in the 62 was 12th. 13th was returnee Tom Shipman, another local driver who's come out for the O plate. He'll be happy with that. 13th for the number 22 Tom Shipman. Oscar Hull in the number 58, 14th. Spencer Shinner was in 15th in the 25. Thomas Liatukas was in number 87 in 16th. 17th was Chris Simpson. 18th was Brandon Klein-Negelvoort. Nicole Sutherland was 19th. Andrew Powell was 20th. 21st was Tyler Jex and Kai Hunter. As I said, a retirement along with Matty Hingley. Let's see where he finally posted. Matty Hingley was the final final runner who came in after 8 laps completed. So a bit of a non-starter. Actually, 3 laps completed for Matty Hingley.
So that is the first of the heats, which was, of course, the 2/3 of the senior Rotaxes. Next up will be Mini-Max. It's kind of not quite sure what they're doing as far as the timetable is concerned now, because we have little items we could play in, but perhaps not, don't know. Don't want to have it crashed across the end of it. The guys are all ready to go, and they're gridded up, so obviously there's no controversy there, or they managed to solve it. And you have the grid for the Mini-Maxes?
I do have the grid for the Mini-Maxes. Let's have a look at them. Harrison Crowther is on the pole position with a 51.828. Harrison in the number 7, alongside him Scott Marsh in the number 47, 51.868. Very little in it as ever. Charles Green in the number 77 will start third, with alongside Ethan Jeff Hall in fourth. In fifth place, Adam Wooden will start alongside Reg Haywood, with Josh Camp and Leighton Cooper on row 4. Row 5 is Andrew Douglas and Chase Fernandez, with row 6 looking like Freddie Worlock and Aaron Fole in 12th spot. At row 7, 13th, Ewan Charman with Levi Earl in 14th. Mikey Walker will start 15th, with Taylor Thompson in 16th. And then the final row of the grid, row 9, 17th spot for Blake Ticehurst, with Helly Smith in 18th spot. So a good grid of 18 karts for Mini-Max. These are 9 to 12-year-olds, just to remind you. Exactly the same engine that's on the senior Rotax karts. It's a 125cc water-cooled engine. However, the power is reduced by way of air restriction. We basically just choke off the engines to reduce the power for the junior drivers.
So what sort of HP are they producing then?
I'm not really sure, because it's you asked me that. You put me on the spot.
Yes,
for the
come on,
Mini-Max.
tell me now exactly the number of BHP. I want to know to the 0.1.
I'm not sure what that Mini-Max will be putting out in comparison to the. What I can tell you, you can look at lap times, Nick. The fastest of the Mini-Max drivers, 51.8 to 49.1,
And that's despite being a lot lighter.
Yeah, a lot lighter, but very little in it, really, isn't there? Very little in it.
But yeah, they're probably taking a bit of the power off them. But the karts are still the same footprint, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly the same. Dimensions are slightly smaller. Obviously, the frames on the drivers, they're a lot smaller, being 9 to 12 years of age. And but fundamentally, you know, the concept of it is that you can basically take your engine all the way through from, you know, the one before this is Micromax, which is a...
So you could take the engine off your Micromax, take out the air restrictor, and it'd be fine in a Rotax.
That's what they say. However, ask an engine builder,
right.
And he'll say,
no,
not a chance.
Right,
not a chance. You're going to need to do this. You're going to need to change the barrel. What do you mean change the barrel? That's the engine then. Well, yeah, kind of. But the concept, the Rotax concept.
Yes, conceptually we can do that.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
no.
Yeah, you could do it, but remember, when you speak to an engine builder or in one of these teams, they want to win these things, and so everything is optimised, everything they get, just squeezing the last ounce out of.
Just Motor Racing UK says, cracking race from Lewis, shame for Kai. I think he's a local, because he says, track spick and span, as usual. Some British touring car and British Superbike venues could do is look around Warden, see how nice it looks. That was you painted the curbs.
That's Mick Palmer. Now, Mick is a local journalist who produces the Motorsport UK magazine. And he comes to our events here, and he was looking forward to this. However, all of his kids, all 4 of them, have posted positive COVID tests. So now he's... And I said, not to worry, Mick. We've got the live stream just for you.
Yes, absolutely.
This is for Mick Palmer.
Well, that's one way of doing it.
He is the grumpiest man on Facebook, by the way.
Is he? Right? Oh, well,
that's
quite a battle, to be honest.
He needs to write a book.
I think it's many.
In fact, I might write the book of all of Mick Palmer's grumpiness.
I write the book.
Grump Court.
Yes, I've just seen there, which I shouldn't do.
So another little bit of a wait. Now this, Nick, is just to allow the timing.
I know. I was going to play in a video. Thought they were going to get going, so I haven't played in a video.
Oh, really?
But next time I will do.
All right. Okay.
Shall I? Oh God, missed it.
All right. So you and I have to chunt around a little bit.
Yeah. Next time.
Well, it's a good job you didn't play the video now.
Exactly.
We've got them on track now. Just to give you an idea, you'll see the drivers weaving backwards and forwards and just throwing the karts around in quite an untidy fashion. Well, there's a reason for that, and that's to get some temperature into those tyres. Slick, untreaded tyres, completely smooth, to get the maximum amount of rubber in contact with what's the track surface to maximise the amount of grip on the chassis. And there you see the pole position driver, Harrison Crowther, really throwing the kart around. It's not like car racing.
How often do they lose it when they do that?
Sometimes you see that. Yeah, sometimes you see that. You know, maybe not necessarily at this level. Like I say, at this level, British Open, these drivers know exactly what they're doing, and they've got a lot of experience. Even between the ages of 9 and 12, they've got a lot of experience in what they're doing. Harrison Crowther brings everything to a nice pace. It looks quite ordered. We should get this underway. They go towards the red lights. The red lights go out, and we are indeed racing. Holding that line down the inside, Paul Mann. Harrison Crowther hangs onto that, and around the outside goes Scott Marsh. Just hangs onto that, right on the bumper, into the double apex dogleg, through the first right-hander, into the second right-hander. It's faster than it looks. Down to St John's, just having a bit of a look there. Did Scott Marsh, if they had mirrors, he would have just poked his nose into the mirrors, wouldn't he, of the lead. In fact, he's down the inside and into the lead. Scott Marsh with a great move, first of the centre hairpins, and the...
Ethan Jeff Hall, he's gone as well. So bad, the leaders just kind of lost momentum through the two centre S's, dropped 2 places, and under quite severe attack from the guy in fourth who's looking inside the gasworks hairpin. I think he's going to do it. No.
I think, Nick, the way that Harrison Crowther was driving that cart around, he needed to get heat into the tyre very, very quickly, because his starting pressure, that tyre won't come on for about 3 laps, and he knows it. Whereas the 2 carts that have gone ahead, Scott Marsh, great driving there, and Ethan Jeff Hall, it looks like their tyres have come straight on.
But why would you do that?
It's kind of a balance. It's whether you want the cart to perform its best mid to end, or the start to finish, and then it fades towards the, because the tyres get too hot and start to lose grip. What it's giving us, though, Nick, is a very close battle at the front with Harrison Crowther. I
think Harrison's up to temperature now.
Yeah, I think he is.
Fourth place man Charles Green. So
I was about to say, he's going
Crowther
straight on
in
the
the
bumper,
mainly red cart in third place, sporting the number 7, and then ahead of him it's the green and blue of Ethan Jeff Hall, and the cart that looks most, and he's going up the inside, so second place claim back, a little bit of a ease gently out there with Ethan Jeff Hall. Into second goes Harrison Crowther through the start of the horseshoe.
Now that move there, you mentioned about how easy it is to overtake. That move there started at the second of the centre hairpins, out and through the back chicane, and it was all about keeping the momentum as they go through turn 1. They've completed 2 laps. This is into lap 3 now. And it's Ethan Jeff Hall who's led across the line there. Harrison Crowther. It was Scott Marsh.
Yes.
It was Scott Marsh who...
First and second, and we'd missed that in some way.
You know what I love about karting, Nick, is all the karts, each of the teams livery their karts exactly the same.
I know, it's great.
So it's great for us commentators.
Well, one's slightly red and the other's mostly yellow and blue.
Usually pick up the different driver helmets, but it was Ethan Jeff Hall who completed lap number 2 in the lead of this race. And Harrison Crowther now into second spot, having just outbreak Scott Marsh into the gasworks hairpin. No changes this time at the gasworks, though, and they're through into the horseshoe. Second apex, coming up to the third apex, and Harrison Crowther, look how racy he looks.
Yeah, it's really close now, and Crowther looking to get back on Ethan Jeff Hall, who got him on the first lap. Sweeps around turn 1, and then they're going to go up through Brian's Bend, and they'll loop round the dog leg. And then it's really, I think, about lining it up for the next corner, where you can start to look at your move. Can you get up the inside of the first and centre hairpins? It's more of a brave move. It's more of a kind of, you need a little bit of a help from the guy you're getting past. But in fact, actually, what happens? He lost momentum there, didn't he, Harrison?
He did.
And so therefore, we saw Scott Marsh back on his tail again. Can Scott make something? Can he get a run through the chicane and down to the gasworks hairpin?
That's where it should happen, and it's a challenge, or is it not, for second place? No, he just stays in behind Harrison Crowther there. Scott Marsh having a little bit of a look behind them. We've got Charles Green, Chase Fernandez and Andrew Douglas kind of equidistant and just following in orderly fashion there, just taking a watching brief on what's happening for that battle for second. Now a little bit of a gesticulation there from Harrison Crowther. Oh, and a bit of contact there into turn 1. I'd say that was a massive misunderstanding. Harrison Crowther gesticulated to his right. Now whether he was allowing Scott Marsh through, Scott Marsh certainly thought that. However, when they got to turn 1, Crowther closed the door and there was contact, and Crowther's lost out massively there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very weird instance. Behind them, there's a lot of shuffling going on that 3, 4, 5, 6 pack, isn't there?
Yeah.
Now, the first two, the drop back of the third, I think it's still Scott Marsh in third because he's been changing on a half-corner basis.
Well, Scott Marsh is now in second because
Crowther's dropped back fourth, yes.
Yeah, I think he's actually dropped back to 5th. Let's have a check of that as they come through the Horseshoe once again into the final turn. Leaders are already through. There's the battle for third, fourth, fifth and sixth. 4 carts now beginning to battle it out. Ethan Jeff Hall leads. Scott Marsh second. Chis Fernandez up into third. Fourth is Charles Green. Harrison Crowther down to fifth. I was right. Andrew Douglas sixth. Leighton Cooper through in seventh. Eighth is Josh Camp. Blake Ticehurst ninth. And Aaron Full rounding off the top 10 in this mini-max first heat.
So Crowther now looking to get fourth place back from Green. He's looking a little bit racy as he goes into first of the centre S's, now then second of the centre S's. Now, we notice really it's all about getting the drive out of here and contain that momentum through the chicane, then hoping to throw one up the inside of the gas. Actually, he lost momentum, didn't he, to his teammate in the Andrew. I'm assuming it's his teammate because the cart looks the same colour. It could be a completely different cart, obviously. Douglas there didn't, and it's. I think Crowther is slow at the difficult parts of the track he's slow at. Is not helping him overtake. He's looking to get up the inside now during the really single line only last couple of corners of the Horseshoe.
What you sometimes find that you'll see, and maybe the gesticulation from Crowther was, let's catch Ethan Jeff Hall, because sometimes you see the drivers signalling to one another, and instead of battling and slowing one another down, because in the process of tussling out on track.
And just it got tipped off there. I think it was Green who kind of had a little bit of attack on the suddenly actually had to take the grass and actually cut off the first part of the dog leg. So I think Green's dropped back behind Harrison. That's my guess.
That's Andrew Douglas in the number 4.
Ah, Douglas has got past Harrison as well, has he?
I think so, as they come out of the back chicane.
There's certainly a bit of short cutting by one of the lighter coloured carts. That's best I can do.
Right, we'll see if we can grab the number there as they come out of the final turn to complete lap number 7. There's the two leaders, Ethan Jeff Hall and Scott Marsh, virtually nose to tail.
Yep.
As they.
So we're coming down about 3 in a minute. The first two are right together. Let's pick up our leaders as they come through Brian's Bend. Ethan Jeff Hall and Scott Marsh, and I'm not sure they're having an agreement themselves. They're not going to wave at each other, but they've managed to break really Chase Fernandez and Harrison Crowther behind them. There's a nice little gap of about exactly a second between them.
That battle for that 4-card battle, Chase Fernandez now in third, Harrison Crowther it was in fourth, Andrew Douglas up ahead of Blake Ticehurst, and it was Charles Green who dropped down the 3 places to 7. So it was Charles Green you saw get tripped up there.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure he misjudged it. He may have got a helping nudge to miss the corner.
It does happen. It's not necessarily deliberate. The leaders are battling though, aren't they? Let's have a look at the time. 3.5 minutes remaining.
Plus 1 lap.
Plus 1 lap, yes, of course. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get the 3.5 minutes out of the way. And then nose to tail across the line. Ethan Jeff Hall leads. Absolutely nothing in it on the stopwatch. Scott Marsh it is in second spot. They're into the dog leg using very little curb there. Didn't want to upset the cart there, did he? Using all the curb. Using all of the track on the extension there.
Marsh certainly not settling back to save his tyres. He's absolutely wanting to take the lead and get the win of the heat from Ethan Jeff Hall, who had a good first lap and came up from third or fourth on the grid. But they're now right together. It's really whether Marsh can get the drive down here, so he can get up the inside and the Gasworks hairpin. Little glance over the shoulder from Jeff Hall, looking outside, but he tried it over and under. It's just not going to work because the Horseshoe really is a single line.
Ethan Jeff Hall knew he was coming and he went defensive into the Gasworks. The Horseshoe is not somewhere to pass. This is where you need to be close to your competitor. Coming out on the start-finish straight now. Maximise that exit speed. Use all the curb on the outside. Down and across the line. He looks across behind him. There's nobody there. Chase Fernandez has dropped right back. So there's the battle's now for first and second between you two. And I've very rarely seen a move there. The first of the dog legs, he basically used a tin opener there and opened up the gap.
Yeah, nice move, really. But it may not last because up the inside again for the first and centre hairpins comes Ethan Jeff Hall. So they've already swapped twice on this lap. And there's a lot of slight nudging going on. I think it's just because they're so close together. I think there's nothing, no harm, no foul sort of nudging, but it's more a case of, but it is a bad bit of nudging because actually Ethan Jeff Hall's rear bumper's off, and that was what caused Kai to get the mechanical. That nudge has dislodged his rear bumper. I was a bit bouncing about there as he went through the chicane. This could be a problem because he could get a mechanical flag and have to pull in. It's
also a problem if you nudge someone too hard, then you could have a nose cone penalty because the nose cones detach. If you hit somebody too hard, they're made to detach. And if you come in scrutineering and your front, the nose at the front of the cart is detached, you get a penalty.
And the 90's come through, and he's nudged off for 12. Chase Fernandez has come through. They both tripped each other up. Fernandez into second. Ethan Jeff Hall leading. Scott Marsh leading now. Ethan Jeff Hall, I think, has obviously that wobbly bit in his rear is not quite so serious. I think he's going to get away with that as far as mechanical concern. Off the track.
Oh, that's
off,
Scott Marsh.
Way off goes Scott Marsh. And he's dropped back. The 47 dropped out at 5th place. So this is the youngsters really perhaps not engaging brain for the entirety of the final laps. 29 seconds to go. So this one and 2 more.
Chase Fernandez has just sat there and went,
well,
thank you very much. Thank you again. Because he's took the lead of this mini-max.
I'm sure he's a polite young man, so he will go back and shake all of them warmly by the hand or elbow bump them all.
Chase Fernandez leads for the first time. Ethan Jeff Hall falling down the order because he's into the pits with that rear bumper. He was given the mechanical flag. I saw his number on the digital board as they crossed the line. And that is a shame.
Harrison Crowther's got himself back into second. He's been in every single position this race.
Another front runner, Nick, who's now on the back foot. We're in the entertainment business. This is great stuff for us.
You could see what happened. And is there any sort of complaint procedure he can make? Because that bumper fell off because it was hit by the guy behind him. Well, should he have it more severely attached, or should the guy who hit it also get a penalty?
Well, we'll talk about that when we get the checkered flag, because that's a good talking point that will take some time to explain. Because Chase Fernandez comes through and he's got the 1 lap to go board. That's 1 lap remaining for the ladies. And a change for second, or was it? Because defensive line there.
Defensive from Harrison.
Yeah,
he
Harrison
didn't get taken. Blake, though, is looking up the inside. We've seen some overtakes into the start of the dog leg. But I must admit that was a crazy lap, wasn't it? That was 3 laps ago, where we saw the lead changed, but the second and third both fall off the track. The second guy, who was it? I think it was
Scott Marsh.
For no reason whatsoever, as far as I could see.
He just went wide at the second centre hairpin. He just, early application of the throttle pedal, and the car just slid wide. And much to his chagrin, he ended up down the field. Then number 7 of Harrison Crowther has dropped a 3rd, by the way.
Yes, Fernandez, though, is going to take this one home, and he's going to say thank you very much. Thank you for the points. And this is a great way to start my weekend. And if I'm really honest with you, when I was sitting on the grid a few minutes ago, I never thought it was going to happen.
Yeah, he didn't. I mean, you wouldn't have guessed it. I mean, there he is, taking the flag there. Heat 1 in Minimax then. Chase Fernandez takes that very well-deserved win for staying out of trouble. Blake Ticehurst came through eventually in second. Then we've got Harrison Crowther finishing 3rd. Scott Marsh eventually finishes 4th. And Andrew Douglas, it was in 5th. Leighton Cooper 6th. 7th is Joss Camp. Charles Green was 8th. 9th is Adam Woodman. Ewan Charman was 10th. Aaron Full 11th. 12th is Freddie Waylock. Mikey Walker will be 13th. Taylor Thompson 14th. And the last of the runners, Ellie Smith, will finish in 15th.
Well, we're going to hold that thought about penalties and being black flags and everything else, because what I think we need to do is, you had a good old chat with, was it Richard Locke from Motorsport UK?
I did, this morning.
And do you know what? Let's go and see what MSUK, the people who organise this and put this event on, are the governing body, what they have to say about, well, the wonderful world of karting, O-plates and Warden Law.
Motorsport internationally is regulated by a governing body. And here in the UK, that governing body is Motorsport UK. And the man from Motorsport UK here this weekend at Warden Law is Richard Locke. Richard, not your first time at Warden Law, I believe.
No, this is our 2nd or 3rd time now. We originally came here with the British Kart Championship last year. It's a new sort of venue back on the tour, really, with Matt Hunter taking over the place, and he's invested considerable amount of money and brought the facilities up, and it's a really great environment, good facilities for us to come back here.
Now, the British Open is arguably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, events of the karting calendar. It's an all-or-nothing, one-weekend event. The intensity's massive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got a different flavour to the British Championship rounds. It is, as you say, a one-off event, and it comes down to really last race, last lap, who's in front, and pick up the rewards from it.
So what is your role here today, Richard? You are representing Motorsport UK, the governing body. You guys write the rules and regs.
Yeah, pretty much any four-wheeled sport in the UK is run under the control of Motorsport UK. As you say, we set the technical regs and sporting regs with these events as well. We've come along to support the club here with a group of staff just to assist them with running this prestigious event.
Now, when I say governing body in the UK, that's everything from Formula One British Grand Prix right down to where we are this weekend, grassroots level motorsport. And Lewis Hamilton has expressed concerns about the rising costs of going racing. But I know that Motorsport UK have got that very firmly in their sights. What sort of things are on the horizon to kind of put a curb on that?
Yeah, absolutely right. Motorsport UK are looking at various different ways of making it more accessible for everybody. We've been teaming up with commercial circuits around the UK, trying to create a pathway for somebody just to come experience their first time karting, all the way through to becoming a British, European or a world champion. We're also working alongside Rob Smedley from Formula One with a new electric kart concept. And that's in a proof of concept at the moment. We actually had the first electric championship round at another venue 2 weeks ago. So groundbreaking for Motorsport UK and looking at the future of electric as well.
Great future planning from Motorsport UK.
Well, you were a busy bunny this morning, weren't you? There's many more of those. For those of you who love George, those of you who love Joe and Joe's lovely pink shorts, you will be seeing many more of that over the course of the weekend. Right, so we wait for the next one to go out, which is the Mini Max heats.
No, Junior Max.
Junior Max, sorry, if you're getting smaller. But quickly, right, so I'm upset. I've been banged at the backside. I've had my bumper knocked off. I've had to retire. And Barry, who's banged me up the backside, has carried on going and got lots of points. What can I do?
Well, you know something, Nick, when I started racing karts, which was years ago, mid-80s into the 90s, it was a part of the sport where when you brake for the tightest hairpins, you waited for the nudge in the back to push you out. So next time round, you'd have to do the same back. We didn't like that. That's not pure racing. We'll leave that to British touring cars. This is pure racing. So we brought in this rule, and it was quite a clever device. However, sometimes it doesn't work because it doesn't work for various reasons, but the majority of times it kind of is there as a deterrent. And basically what it is, the way that the front nose sections of the carts are attached to the front of the cart, it's not loose, but if it takes a massive knock, it releases, and it's called a dropped nose penalty. Now, if you hit somebody up the rear, like we saw there, and that was not deliberate. You could see these guys are racing very, very close indeed. And sometimes it's unavoidable. Sometimes it's just one of those things. It's part of racing sometimes. You can pick up a nose penalty for that. Now, that's there to deter you from hitting me so hard that you remove my rear bumper. Now, I'm not sure how the rear bumpers become detached, because that should be very firmly attached to the cart. However, we've seen now two. One in the first heat, one in the second heat. Different categories, but fundamentally the same carts and the same mechanics of how those rear bumpers attach. And that's now put two of our front runners very much on the back leg. And they're going to have a lot to do in the coming heats and the pre-finals to get to where they perhaps wanted to be, or indeed should be, because it's two of our front runners that's happened to.
Mm. Yeah, but so they can't turn around and go, and have a complaint about the person hitting them. That's just not possible.
Well, no, that is possible. There is a protest process, and you would have to then take that to the clerk of the course and judiciary.
I'm not trying to cause trouble, by the way.
No, you certainly. Well, if you're not trying, you're certainly achieving what you're not trying to do. They don't need any encouragement here at any level of karting to get the protest fee out, and that's why we could, mate. Tomorrow night we want to be away for the Euro final, so let's not create any.
Yeah, I'll be literally going. Everything's perfect. Yep, that's fine. That's marvellous. Fine, yeah. It's all right. No problems at all. Right. So next up is Junior Max. Now, I've got this. Have I got it right? It's mini, small, and junior, isn't it?
Yes. Mini Max, remember, 9 to 12 years old.
Junior, 12.
Junior Max, 12 to
15?
16.
16. But you can go up.
You can go into seniors in the year of your 16th birthday.
So what are the lap times these boys doing then?
Well, pole position was Harry Linden with a 50.2. So it's about a second quicker than Mini Max.
And a second slower than Senior Max.
Isn't it? It's working very well. And again, the differences are restricted engines. And we've got the green flag. They're out of the collecting area. So Harry Linden, I mentioned on pole, 50.203, with, would you believe, Daniel Grinchard on a 50.203. Exactly the same lap time down to the thousandths of a second. Harry Linden will have put the time in first, hence he's got the pole. Daniel Grinchard exactly the same time alongside. Leon Henderson and Ted Bradbury are on the second row. Gabe Fairbrother and Daniel Armstrong, local lad, on row 3. Row 4 is Sam Gornall and Jez Williams. Jimmy Perilli, up from the south of England, is on row 5 with Gustav Yusukovs. His first year in junior Rotax, coming up from cadets. Charlie Hart and Mikey Porter are on row 6. Row 7 is Pearson Bullock Carter, with alongside Pearson Scott Lapsley. Neil Clark and Jai Lawrence are on row 8. Row 9 is Finley Watson and Sophie Kinghorn. Ryan Willis and Declan Russell are on row 10. Row 11 is Lucas Jex and Isaac O'Shea. Matthew Lambert and Ethan Lomax are on row 12. Row 13 is Evie Poulan and Oliver Martinsky. Row 14 is Brentley Sims and Bella Franklin. Row 15, Ollie Goodyear and Leo LaCastro, with rounding off the row 16 in 31st spot, Holly Mial.
Oh, well done. You got them all done, and you got yourself about 15 seconds before the race starts.
Excellent. We're coming around the final turn then, and pole position man Harry Linden with Daniel Grinchard, exactly the same lap time in qualifying, and they will lead this field into turn 1. No change there, with the inside line of Harry Linden being the ideal line to take, and everybody slotting in.
Grinchard's been eased out to third. Got 2 cars spinning, 43 and the 26 are spun in front of us, but second and third has changed. Bradbury, I think, got past Grinchard going through the Brian's Bend. But the rest of the carts are up and running. Those 2 spinners have both rejoined. That's the advantage of the
We've had one of them retire, I think the 26. I might be wrong.
Enough, but second and third changes back again, coming out of the second centre S and into the chicane. So we're back on the order as you see it on the screen. And they haven't been in that order the entirety. So it's Linden from Grinchard from Bradbury. And a little bit wide there from Linden. I think, not sure whether that was just a lack of turning. As they sweep down the horseshoe. And then they're going to turn right back again onto the main straight.
It really is a net killer, that horseshoe. 3 apexes to it. It's kind of squared off, but you just take one complete circumference, and the cart really does grip up there. Into turn 1 then for the second time, and leading across the line, it's Linden, Grinchard, Henderson, Bradbury, Fairbrother, Daniel Armstrong down to 6th, Jez Williams 7th, Gornall, Perilli, and Gustav Yusukovs rounding off the top 10.
So, yeah, so we've got about a minute down, and it's still... I think that's still the case. The interesting thing, isn't it, with the first few laps, there's kind of a real ebb and flow as people come into both their mental state, but also, of course, their tyre state.
All about the tyres.
They kind of get it in and out, and that's what I can do, and they're feeling their way. I mean, it's the warm-up lap, because they've not been out for a while. And up the inside, great move for the lead there by Grinchard. Yeah, fantastic move.
And that's allowed Leon Henderson to get onto the rear bumper of Harry Linden. He's made it stick into the Gasworks hairpin. He continues to lead. And he's got about a cart's length in between himself. That's a great move down the inside of the Gasworks. Yeah, that was textbook, wasn't it? He made room for himself there. Great move.
Turn back in difficult corner. I mean, that's a dog leg. I mean, you're kind of fighting against the car, wanting to disappear off to the left-hand side the entire time.
It's kind of 2 corners and another move this time. And
that's
contact.
That's gone horribly wrong. And it's the spin. It's taken out 4 or 5 carts. There's more mowing there than at the Wimbledon Lawn Tennis Association as the carts go across. What happened there? Spun it, lost it, turned round. He's really bad luck for the 33 cart, or was it the 53 cart there?
I think that was the 53.
Desperate bad luck. It could have either been Scott Lapsley in the 33, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was.
It wasn't Ted Bradbury. Yeah, the 33 cart, very unlucky there to get the first indication. Now,
I'll tell you who that was, Nick. I think that was Harry Linden who ended up... no, I've been proved wrong, because Harry Linden has just crossed the line. Falling down, it was Leon Henderson who fell down the order there, having spun at the first.
No, it's Bradbury. It's Bradbury who spun in the 53. Yeah, Bradbury who spun.
Yeah, but it was because Leon Henderson spun sideways, and Bradbury collected him. In fact, there's the number 69 just pulling off.
So it was all going so well, wasn't it? That's our first major coming together of the kart meeting. An over-ambitious, or just carrying a little bit too much speed in the first and a hairpin. It's very easy just to turn around, and suddenly, of course, you're that early in the race, the carts are so scrunched together, you're going to have contact.
And plus, remember, it was only lap 2. The tyres weren't really up, so that rear-end grip wasn't there to counter that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the interesting thing, is these cars have been, there's no tyre warmers, of course.
That's another £1, please.
They've been, I'll be £1 million down. These carts have been sitting there in the collecting area. They're at best ambient temperature. You only get one aggressive lap to try and warm them up, and then you're into action. 2 laps in, yes, but it's still not where you want them to be for making spectacular moves, but we're left with our two leaders, the 49 and the 31. It's Gunchard and Harry Linden.
Yep,
Linden, the whiter car, Gunchard, the darker car. They're not massively different.
Well, it's the Argenti kart in the lead from the Dan Holland kart in second, and these two have pulled out a huge gap to the karts behind, 2.3 seconds. And like I said, it might not sound much, but in karting, that's a lifetime. Out onto the back, curving straight. Will there be a challenge? No, because that leading driver, Daniel Gunchard and Harry Linden, they absolutely matched each other to the thousandth of a second in qualifying, and you still can't put a cigarette paper between them.
Oh, do you know what? I was about to use the cigarette paper thing as well. but let's
do it.
I kind of have a feeling. Do you not feel that a lot of these drivers, under 6, wouldn't know what a cigarette paper was?
Probably not. Hopefully not.
Yes, who knows about cigarette papers?
People of a certain age.
And a certain hobby.
Yeah, I never did.
No, of course not. We got the police.
What do you mean? Oh, sorry, I wasn't even going there. I wasn't even thinking about that. Yes, anyway, moving on.
Moving on quickly. Yes, so 49 from 31. That's 19. So anyway, so they're now, it looks like Linden just has dropped a tiny bit off the back of Gunchard. He's just managed to gather a little bit of distance. I mean, by that I mean not 0.2 of a second, but enough to really... It does seem that the following kart has an advantage into the Gasworks hairpin. You can almost measure yourself against the leader, and if you're going to slightly overcook it, you know what, just tap it at the back, it'll be fine.
It is kind of more measured. You saw Daniel Gunchard, who's leading in the Argenti kart, just looking over his shoulder to see where Linden was, and that's where you can put yourself off.
Let's have a drop back to the next, the set of 4 karts behind them, because that's a big battle for second, third, fourth and fifth. Well, keep an eye on the lead and see what they're doing. But this is Armstrong, Henderson, O'Shea and Lucas Jex in the those middling positions, looking at 3rd to 6th place. There's a yellow flag being waved, so you can't overtake in the first centre because there's a yellow flag because one of the cars that had the crash in lap 3 is still there. So there's one of the overtaking places has gone, but this is the battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th going through the chicane.
And Yuzikovs has moved up the order. Yuzikovs, I'm just going to find out where he qualified in 10th spot. He was... on the first lap, he was rounding off the top 10, but already moving up to 6th. He's in the Hunt and Motorsport awning this weekend, and Gustav's just moving up into junior Rotax from the cadet class, and he's certainly settled in well, like a duck to water. Charlie Hart's 3rd, Jez Williams 4th, Neil Clark 5th, and Gustav Yuzikov's the last of that train of karts. But about to join them is Daniel Hamstrong and Leon Henderson. They're just hanging off the back of them, aren't they? Just hanging off the back, just trying to close the gap. Daniel Armstrong, who's with Dan Holland Racing, he knows this place like the back of his hand. It's a local lad, and he can see that train of karts ahead of him, and we will want to latch on to that battle. The front of the field, Daniel Gunchard still leads from Harry Linden, just hanging on to one another as they continue to circulate. But certainly the battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th is the one to watch. They're at the horseshoe now, into the final turn at the paddock hairpin, and now they come down towards Nick and I in our great commentary position here at Warden Law, just in the new media centre. First time we've used it. Big thank you once again to the Hunter family for just developing this facility into the world-class facility that it's become, and we're getting racing that is more aptly needed here in the northeast of England. Some quality top-level karting here this weekend, and you think the racing's intense at the moment. This is only the first of the heats. What we're going to be like when we get towards the finals.
Much, Reed, is it?
It's counting for your grid position, Nick. That's where it is. It's all about getting up the grid order to start that all-important final. So as close to the front as you can.
There's been a definite gain by the Hart, Williams, Clark, Uskakov's group to the top 2 of Gunchard and Linden. The gap's gone down by half a second in that lap, so they're pulling away. Now, the only reason that could be is because Gunchard's going a little bit slowly because he's obviously managing the pace behind with Linden. Linden not really getting away, not really challenging at this point. The yellow flag's gone from the first centre hairpin. They've managed to clear that stricken cart, so they can now overtake anywhere on the track if they can get close enough.
Under 2 minutes as well, so time running out to improve your position, and I'm not sure whether I've seen a clear advantage of any of these runners. The race, for want of a better term, has stagnated somewhat. We've got karts very, very closely matched, and this is what we're going to see. We're going to see just marginal gains here and there, and maybe we are playing that high-speed game of chess, Nick. We're looking forward, we're projecting forward into tomorrow's finals and just wanting not to overstress the tyres, not wanting to really sort of take too many chances.
Hartley picked up 0.4 of a second on Linden there. The gap between second and third coming down. But there's going to be, 4 laps to go or 3 laps to go, won't there? This one and then 2 more.
We've got 10 minutes and 1 lap.
So there's going to be 3 laps if you include this one. So 2 2/3 laps. They come into the centre hairpin, the first of them. So that's clear now. So you're allowed to overtake. But they all just gap themselves slightly. Is this a point now where I think I'll take what I've got? I don't want to lose it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, all right, you're still pushing. You're still trying to close the gap, but you still, you can see how on the limit these drivers are, just on where they brake. Remember, only brakes on the rear of these karts, so they're just kind of modulating the brake just before the rear axle begins to lock up, just to get you pointed into the corner. There's definitely a reduction at the front of this field, down to 0.6 of a second now between second and third. But time running out for Charlie Hart to do anything about it. We've got Daniel Guinchard and Harry Linden, like I said, exactly down to the thousandths of a second, exactly matched each other for lap time in qualifying, and they've matched each other. And I think you're right, Nick. I think we've got Harry Linden, who's just settling in. He's on the Dan Holland kart. Then we've got Hunter Motorsport in the form of Charlie Hart in third, Jez Williams through in fourth, Neil Clark fifth, and Gustav Yuzikovs in sixth. Leon Henderson has finally gotten by Daniel Armstrong for seventh. Ryan Willis is ninth, and rounding off the top 10 is Scott Lapsley. Getting towards the checkered flag time, though.
Yep, they're about to start their last lap. He'll get the 1 lap to go board. Guinchard looks pretty safe unless he makes a mistake. Linden did a little bit of a worried glance over his shoulder down the main straight there, but I think even so he's got enough of a lead, especially as I don't believe that the third place Charlie Hart or Jez Williams are going to want to throw it up the inside.
Keep an eye on fourth. Jez Williams looks very racy indeed as we go into this final lap. Then they're into St John's now, that sweeping left-hander off camber, so it can catch you out into the first of the centres then. First, second, third and fourth close right up there, nose to tail for pretty much now. Out into the back chicane for the final time then. This, the Junior Rotax Heat 1. Onto the back straight. Curving towards the Gasworks hairpin, can Jez Williams, and you know what? Charlie Hart knew he was there, because Charlie Hart had to take the defensive inside line into the Gasworks hairpin, into the horseshoe for the final time. Can Jez Williams make a move into the final turn? No, he cannot, because Charlie Hart had it covered, but it's Daniel Guinchard that will take Heat 1, and Harry Linden, he started the race on pole position, but he came second at the flag. Charlie Hart was third, Jez Williams fourth, Neil Clark was in fifth, Gustav Yuzikov sixth, seventh place was Leon Henderson, Daniel Armstrong eighth, Ryan Willis ninth, Scott Lapsley 10th, 11th was Sam Cornell, Pearson Bullock Carter was 12th, Jamie Perilli was 13th, Mikey Porter 14th, Gabe Fairbrother 15th, Lucas Jeck 16th, 17th was Sophie Kinghorn, Finley Watson will come through in 18th spot, 19th was Ethan Lomax, Evie Poulant was 20th, Matthew Lambert 21st, Bella Franklin 22nd, 23rd was Jai Lawrence, Isaac O'Shea was 24th, Brentley Sims was 25th, Leo Licastro was 26th, 27th was Holly Mayall, Ollie Goodyear was 28th, Ollie being the last of the runners. 3 retirements then, Kart 69 Declan Russell, Ted Bradbury in the 53 and Oliver Martinsky in the number 26. 31 kart field in the junior Rotaxes, and we had 28 finishes. But what a battle. I tell you what, that bodes very well indeed. One, those karts, those competitors are very, very equally matched. And I did see...
That's another great race.
Patience was the virtue there.
What you're beginning to see, actually, is that what will be happening in the finals isn't happening here. There's no one's throwing up the inside. Now, before we have a chat about the people who I want to talk about, which is the big heavy boys coming out, first of all, we've talked about handling, we've talked about tyres, but what we're going to see now is Joe Bradley showing us around a kart. So take it away, Joe on video.
This is the kart of Rhys Hunter. He's one of the main favourites here this weekend to take the O-Plate. He's a former O-Plate holder, so he's all out to get the O-Plate this weekend at Warden Law. He's home track. Let's have a look at his kart. And all the karts are the same. This is a senior Rotax 162. And the difference between the 162 and the 177s is purely weight. That's 177 kilograms. This one will run to 162 kilograms. Let's have a look at these tyres. A little bit different to what you have on your car at home. Absolutely no tread. That little indentation there, though, tells me how much rubber's on this tyre. Now, this is the first set of tyres, and this set of tyres has got to last the whole weekend, through the heats all the way to the final. So we talk about
tyre management in Formula One, there's tyre management even at this level. It's all about driving hard, but it's all about looking after the tyres. Another feature of the Rotax Max karts, the braking system. Only one brake disc on the rear. If you look at the front axles, there is no braking whatsoever on the front of this kart. All the braking, when the driver presses the brake pedal, it locks the rear axle. And as we can see, the rear axle is completely solid. No differential. It's driving both wheels at exactly the same time. So what we'll see the drivers do is they'll use the brakes to lock up the rear axle, get the kart sliding, pointing towards the turn so that they can power straight out. And there's another reason for that as well. This being a rear axle, a solid rear axle, there's no differential. The inside wheel on a curve will go through a shorter circumference than the outside wheel. And what that means, if we had a microscope, we could look at this in a scientific way, that rear axle is twisting up. And by twisting up, it's sapping engine power. And it just takes that little bit of edge off the engine. So what you want to do is release that axle. That's why we need to point the kart into the turn, get it pointing straight, and use all of this 125cc power in that engine to fire us out of the corner. We're going to see some great action this afternoon.
Hi,
I was using my props, Nick. The kart tyre was my props.
hi to Michael Hetherington and Yoda's uncle on Twitter. Yoda says, never mind the rules about wheeling, what are the rules about rolling a spliff? So who knows what that is?
I don't know what he's talking about.
No, none of us do. And hello to Jason Black, who says, what's a cigarette on the YouTube? And Motor Racing UK wants to know where the new media centre is.
It's here. Beside the scrutineering bay, Mick.
Yeah. It's where we are now.
Yes, beside the scrutineering bay. And, Mick has said that there's some venues where, we run the epitome of British motorsport, British touring cars. He said that Warden Law can teach a lot of circuits in the UK a few lessons on how to have a racing facility. Well, you're going to be blown away by the Joe Bradley Memorial Suite when you see it.
Joe Bradley. Well, you're dead.
Well, I'm already future-proofing it.
Right,
That's what I've called it, you see.
Yeah, right, okay, fair enough.
It'll live on.
Forever.
Yeah.
Worrying. Right, up next, we will have the Chunky Boys.
Well, we tend not to call them the Chunky Boys.
I've just looked at them. They all look like
skinny,
11 times fitter than me.
They absolutely are.
Just tall, aren't they?
I know. This is what I mean. So this is why the 177 class was brought in, because you were disadvantaged if you were tall. And I'm not talking about basketball
height. 3 stone, though, isn't it? I can't think they should have bought like a 202 or something and give us like 6 stone.
So you and I could race.
Yeah.
Well, we still haven't got the stamina to do that.
I can do 10 minutes once.
So I can do 5 laps without needing oxygen. Yeah, at least once a week. We've got, this is the smallest grid, but even though it's a small grid, we've still got a lot of quality. You've got a British champion in there in the form of Matty Easton. He will start in second place alongside pole position man Nathan Chafer, 50.095. Now you'll see
that's
that
fast.
Just down, it is very fast and barely slower than the quickest of the, or the slowest of the 162s. At club events, you'll see the 177s mixed in with the 162s, having great battles. So that's the front row. Nathan Chafer on the pole position, kart 99. Number 3, Matty Easton, his time 50.202. Behind them, Henry Ayres, another British Championship runner, 50.339 with Jay Taylor. Now, Jay has been going around this track since he was... In fact, he wasn't even old enough to be going around this track. He was like 4 years old.
He's never stopped. Literally, he'd be going around non-stop for 15 years.
My ex-wife used to be the track manager, and I used to give her a ring and you say, anything happening? Well, Jay's going round. Yeah, I meant there's anything happening, Jay was always going round. Well, Jay is a former multiple club champion here at Warden Law. From cadets through to the senior classes. He won everything here at Warden Law back in the day. He's been out of karting for some time, 5 years, I think, since he even sat in a kart. And he's back this weekend. Why is he back? It's the O plate, Nick. That's what he's come back for. And he's qualified fourth, 50.487. There was lots of concerned faces there at the awning just as I passed. His brother Lee works for Strawberry, pretty high level. He's off to Germany on Monday, running mechanicking in this sport at a very, very high level for Strawberry, is Lee Taylor. And offering some advice to his brother Jay to just get that little bit, a few tenths quicker than he could. Row 3 is Stephen Horner. Now, Stephen is the current club champion here. He won the 2020 club championship here and only just become the recipient of an MSA licence to allow him to race. He's alongside Callum Porter. Stephen's time, 51.074. Callum Porter's time, the number 20, 51.160. Behind Stephen Horner and Callum Porter is Keith Mason. He's the 7th and last runner, and Keith Mason is a race winner here. In fact, my memory serves me, Keith won the last club meeting here a couple of months ago. It might have been the one prior to the last one, so at least a couple of months ago. So Keith is a race winner here at his home track, and again, Keith and Stephen rapidly got their licences sorted so they could compete in the O plate. And I see, Nick, on screen, we've got them already lined up and ready to come through the final turn. Paddock hairpin in very orderly fashion. Nathan Schaefer controls the pace with Matty Easton alongside. They'll see the red lights go out and we will be racing in the Rotax 177s. And is it by magic?
It flipped
there
by.
It is. Oh, Jay Taylor moving into third there. Oof. Now his tyres are not on. You can see the rear end sliding around there. But Jay Taylor just having to bring those tyres in. Jay Taylor into third place just ahead of Henry Ayres. That's allowed Nathan Schaefer to take the lead from the pole position. Matty Easton it is in second, and once again we're seeing the karts not being as grippy as perhaps we'll see later on in the race. And here we are. They're not going to be, I tell you what, Nick, they'll not pull away very far from one another, and this is going to be a 10-minute and one lap procession of karts just waiting and eking out a little bit of performance to get on terms and maybe having a punt at overtaking.
Yeah, we got getting into two groups already. The first four have kind of broken away in the wave from the next three. The fifth place man, which is Stephen Horner, it looks like he's trying to make a bridge, but they've had, I think the fact you've got 7 karts, I mean, they look a little bit more spread out than they actually are, rather than having 70 karts, but it's like a quite relaxed start. It's almost like kind of they're working themselves into it. They're using the experience and they just ease themselves into it. But Matthew Easton made a really good getaway. Yeah,
indeed. It was Matty Easton, not Nathan Schaefer, who led the field, and I got that wrong. Looking across the way across to the far side of the circuit. Now, Matty Easton, another local lad. His dad, Dave. Hope Dave is recovering. Just been in hospital a few days ago. I'm not sure if he's out actually. I hope he is, and hopefully we'll see Dave shortly back at the club here at Warden Law. But Matty Easton, he certainly knows how to win these races. Former British champion, and he's currently leading by about a half a second there. Nathan Schaefer, who's got another half a second before we then got Jay Taylor in the number 69. Henry Ayres, the current British champion, right on his tail though.
Yeah, let's have a little bit more at the third and the fourth. That's where the real battle is. It's the Jay Taylor-Henry Ayres affair. Coming into the centre hairpin, the first one. Henry, in fairness, has been nibbling around the back of Jay for the last 2 or 3 laps, in fact, for the whole of this race. But he's now much closer now. Is he going to try and throw out the inside of the Gasworks hairpin is the question. I think it seems to be most likely, but he didn't quite have the drive out of the chicane there, I thought.
Yeah, that's what you need to do. You need to get more momentum than the kart in front of you to get alongside. It's perhaps the only real overtaking place. I know we've been proved wrong on that many times already today, with moves being made pretty much everywhere here at Warden Law, but it is the Gasworks where you get momentum along the curving back straight. Absolutely nothing in it now as Henry Ayres gets right onto that rear bumper of Jay Taylor, and Taylor will be aware he's a lot taller than he used to when he used to go round and round when he was 6 years old. But he's about 7 foot tall. He's absolutely huge, and but he's still got slow pace. And there goes Henry Ayres down the inside. Jay Taylor there. He'll be kicking himself for leaving the door open. He'll be wanting to charge back, but whether or not Henry Ayres can pull a gap to the pesky Jay Taylor, there it is. The move, textbook move, came out of the left-hander at St John's, and that put him in position to be last of the late breakers into the first of the centre hairpins. And it looks, Nick, as though Henry Ayres, current British champion, carrying the number 1, has made it stick.
Not massive surprise. He looked faster. When he came down the straight last time, he choked the engine when he put his hand over the intake. It's called choking. Whereas Jay didn't, but he still gained on him. So a little bit of slipstream, but a little bit more power. And you can see almost immediately he's bridging that gap to the top two. But let's move to the top two because they're right together now. Matthew Easton's earlier start has been closed down by Nathan Chafer. Chafer in the all-orange. Thankfully, his race suit makes him easy to pick out. The all-orange of Chafer. He's going to go running now through the chicane. But that gap has come down from about 3/4 second down to 0.3 last time round. And my guess is, Joe, that's closer than 0.3 now.
Yeah, that does indeed. We've got a battle breaking out for the overall lead of this, the first heat for the Senior Rotax 177 class. And it's Nathan Chafer, the driver that started on the pole. And that cheeky Matty Easton got away into the lead. Matty looking over his shoulder there to see just where Nathan was. Not quite close enough, and turn one is not the place where you can really make any impression because the speed differential is absolutely zero. They're almost flat out through there. Now this is where we need to concentrate, Nick. Nathan Chafer needs to focus through St John's, stick with him, gain a little bit more at the hairpins through centre, closes the gap under the braking. It then breaks away again into the second of the centre hairpins. It's a sweeping right-hand entry into the back chicane. And Matty Easton using all of the curb. He knows exactly what curbs to use here. And this is where Chafer's chance will come. Matty Easton feeling like he doesn't have to defend. And he was right that time because Chafer just didn't have enough on the brakes there.
Now, the question really about this is a 7-kart grid. And we were absolutely honest, a couple of those karts are, not of the same purpose. So there are only 3 or 4 really fighting at the front. Will this change the tactics of individual heat compared to Mini Max and Junior Max and the Senior Max, which had like 30 or 40 karts? Is it like every race I will try and win because I may as well be first? I don't need to worry about my overall positioning against other karts.
I'm sure you could actually win the final of 3rd or 4th on the grid, or even 5th on the grid if it's because of the short field. There's very little in it, and it's perhaps even more exposed is the ultimate performance that you're eking out of your setup. And your engine variations of what you can use. And here we go again. It's out onto the back straight towards the Gasworks hairpin. Again, Matty Easton doesn't need to defend because he's absolutely on the edge of that kart's braking efficiency into the Gasworks hairpin. And likewise through the horseshoe, this is where they'll need to come out and use the momentum. And has Chafer got down into the slipstream? No, he's not. He hasn't quite got enough to put even alongside Matty Easton into turn one.
He's only 0.2 of a second behind, but interestingly, gaining 0.2 of a second there was Henry Ayers. He's now only a second off the lead as well. So they're coming together slowly. Chafer really needs to get a move on because otherwise it's going to very quickly become a 3-kart battle where he might end up 3rd.
Well, if we see Matty Easton beginning to defend, he'll actually go slower over the course of a lap. The lap time will reduce. That's going to allow Henry Ayers in 3rd to close that gap. And maybe what we're seeing here between these two karts at the front being so close, maybe they are just ever so slightly tripping up. Or maybe it is Henry Ayers has got actual real difference in pace and he's closing that gap on sheer performance. It's hard to judge at this stage. The intense bit hasn't even started yet. That's tomorrow. This is just planning and projecting of where you want to be towards finishing well in your heats to put you in a good starting position for the finals tomorrow. But right now, it's another high-speed game of chess, isn't it? These guys are absolutely on the limit of these karts, driving very, very smoothly indeed, keeping that momentum going and making it very hard for anybody in this field to make any kind of impression on Matty Easton.
Ayers picked up a 10th there in 3rd, but I don't think he's got 10 laps before the end. He's going to need to just accelerate it a little bit further forward to catch up. Easton coming into the real obvious overtaking point, which is the Gasworks hairpin, but again...
But he's on the edge of brakes, isn't he? He's absolutely on the edge of that braking area. You saw the rear of the car just snap a little bit away, but Matty's just got that under control. Very experienced driver here. And just the level that we're racing at here. Matty Easton, former British champion. Henry is current British champion. I'm not sure who Nathan Chafer, but he's very obviously a very, very quick driver on that Rotax Max 177.
Yeah, I mean, it's as you say, it's nudging around. I just wonder whether Chafer's holding off and he doesn't want to do the feint and give an idea to Matthew where he's going to go. He's thinking, going, all right, I know I can do it, and I'm going to do it with 2 or 3 laps to go rather than with 7 laps to go.
Well, exactly, because if he's going to take the win, he's going to make it at the very last minute. Just under 2 minutes of this race time remaining. Remember, 10 minutes and 1 lap. So we've got just under 2 minutes and 1 lap of racing left. And you know what? It's going to be very hard for Chafer to have a go down the inside into that Gasworks hairpin. However, very shortly, he's going to feel the presence of Henry Hayes. Yep. I say very shortly, Nick. I think that's now.
Because Henry's kind of managed to slowly go back, the gap's up. He gained about 3/10 that time round. It's really very much because they're running to Matthew Easton's speed. Schaefer is being controlled by that speed. And we've seen that Henry has, at all points, has been pretty quick. He's actually pulled out 6 seconds on Jay Taylor since he went past him a few laps ago. So it's these three in a class of their own, if that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely. And they've proved that now. They're almost nose to bumper, nose to tail, as we say, into the chicane for the 11th time. And this really is now...
Very, very ugly there by Henry. He might be thinking... See, Henry just pulled so much speed coming through the chicane that Nathan's going to have to watch out, because Nathan was slowed by following Matthew.
And now what we're going to see probably is Schaefer starting to defend from Henry Hayes. That's Matty Easton's rubbing his hands because he's thinking, go on, boys, you squabble. I'm just going to pull away and just give myself a bit of a cushion. Still 36 seconds remaining on the clock.
Yep, still slapping one more.
Yep, plenty of time. Plenty of time for things to happen here. And remember, this is only the first heat. Only the first heat, but with such a short grid, it is all going to count massively.
Easton has the biggest amount of daylight he's had for the last 10 laps, I think, over Schaefer as they went around the centre hairpin that time around. I think what's happening is Schaefer's held back because he knows he needs to get the run through the chicane. Otherwise, he's going to get gobbled up by Henry Ayres on the exit. Yeah, this time much more even the exit. He knew he couldn't be so close to Matthew because it would have slowed him down. So now he's going to have to settle for second or make a kamikaze move in the last lap.
You know what, Nick? I'm not sure there is any tyre management whatsoever going into this. I think these boys are absolutely flat out because into the Gasworks hairpin there, all three of them were like in symmetry, the way that they brake, a little bit of rear end slippage and then into the corner. Into the final lap then, turn one for the last time in this Heat 1. It's the Senior Rotax 177. And it's Matty Easton leading. Nathan Schaefer is in second, and in third place, Henry Ayres. They are first, second, and third, as quickly as I can see it. And if anything, Nick, Henry Ayres has dropped back.
Yeah, I think Ayres must have made a slight mistake there because his metronomic gain on the lead has disappeared this time now. Schaefer right behind Easton. Is he going to lose momentum again? Took a bit too much curb there on the entrance of the chicane, but no, this time he's got the speed. But can he get up the inside? He's thinking. No, backs out and thinks, nope, second place to do this time around.
Matty Easton had nothing to do with what he thought. Matty Easton was absolutely on the limit of braking there. He's got that kart set up so well. He knows Warden Law like the back of his hand, and he knows how to set a kart up for here. And here we come to take the checkered flag. It's Matty Easton that will take Heat 1. Nathan Schaefer looks like he's pleased with that. And Henry Ayres came through in third spot. Jay Taylor will take a fine fourth place on his return. Stephen Horner will finish in fifth. Callum Porter is in sixth. And Keith Mason will be the final finisher. And everybody there filing straight in against the clerk of the course's wishes this morning. So a very fine 177 heat. It was a battle of wits at the end. And we expect to see more of that as we go through the weekend. And when we get towards tomorrow's finals, that's when it will start getting very, very serious.
Okay, so we're now into the second of the senior Rotax, of the Rotax 162s.
Yeah.
I have been given official information there is no official result to the first heat because there are 6 separate protests going on.
There's a what?
There are 6 separate protests. But in this heat is young Sam Hawthorne, who I believe you caught up with earlier. So let's see Joe chatting to Sam about Rotax 162.
Argenti Motorsport, a relatively new team to the British national karting scene, is here at Warden Law to compete for the All Plate this weekend. And one of their drivers, kart number 15 in the senior Rotax class, is Sam Hawthorne. Now, Sam's only 16, so, here he is in seniors. Sam, your second year in seniors. Explain how that happens, could you?
Just the junior weight's a bit too low, so we couldn't make it. We're like...
You mean as you grew up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're like, as the pandemic hit, we just went, why not go senior and get some experience?
And the licence allows you to do that at 15?
Yeah, because it was going to be my 16th that year.
Right, I see. Here you are at the All Plate, Sam. What does the All Plate mean to you and being here at this massive event?
It would mean a lot to me if I could win it. It would be hard because I've never been here before, but we'll do our best.
You tested here yesterday, get some good data. You've learnt the track, I would believe.
I wasn't here yesterday.
Ah, right. I've picked the driver that wasn't here yesterday. So when you go out for your practice, that's the first time you've seen the track.
Yeah, that's the first time I saw the track this morning.
Right. And what's your thoughts initially?
It's twisty, it's hard, but we'll try. I'll try to get to know it quickly.
Yeah. And being at an event like this, how does the nerves affect you then? Because you're running with the big boys now. It must be quite a nervous thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of used to it now. I've raced in Europe, and it's normal for me now, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Sam Hawthorne, total professional. Thanks, Sam.
So Sam will be, I think, at the back of the grid on this one. So obviously the lack of practice has caught him out. He should have been here yesterday, as you thought he was.
Yeah, I did. I thought I'd counted everyone in and out yesterday. We'll have a quick look at the grid, Nick, while we've got a bit of time. We're just waiting for the go-ahead on this heat. Now, remember, this is the Rotax 162s split into 3 to get them through their heats. So we've got on the pole position, George Holbrook, 49.125 was his time. And once again, we're seeing Kai Hunter alongside on the O plate. 49.252 was Kai's time. These two have been battling all season long in the British Championships, and it bodes very well for us here this weekend, and it's going to be great entertainment for everybody at home watching on the live stream to see these two at least. Let's not forget the people behind them, though. James Lowther is on the second row. 49.298 was his time. Alongside him, Tristan Rennie in the number 47. He's got on a 49.341. Teddy Clinton and Lewis Harvey is on row 3. Row 4, Reese Hunter, brother of Kai. Down the order, Reese for him, so we should see him moving forward. A track he knows very well. Ben Kearsley alongside him on row 4, like I said, in 8th spot. Row 5, Sean Butcher in 9th, Tom Adams 10th. Row 6, Kern Sang, local driver, in 11th, and Brandon Klein-Nagelvoort in 12th. They're rounding off the 6th row. Row 7 is James Johnson and Chris Simpson. Row 8 is Edward Matthews and Oscar Hoole. Oliver Meadows and Jack Stedman are on row 9. Row 10 is Harry Gibson and Tom Shipman. Tom, another local driver, making a comeback for the O-plate. That's how big it is. Andrew Trevor and Tyler Jex are on row 11. And Samuel Hawthorne, Sam there, who we spoke to in the paddock this morning. Yep.
So they're again sitting and waiting. I'm not sure whether there's anything to do with the previous complaint. It shouldn't be, because it doesn't affect the grid positions moving forward, does it? So this is just a...
It certainly doesn't affect the grid position of the start of this heat. This is, again, one of the first heats for the 162s. Some of the drivers will have this will be their second and final heat before we go into
so it's an interesting
tomorrow's...
point, though, isn't it, really? Because if you've already done a heat, you've got a run on your tyres. If you haven't done the heat because you're the other group, you must have a slight advantage, surely.
That's a good point, but that advantage you've got next time will just peter out because everybody will be the same. But I know what you mean.
But on this think about it, A and B go out first, heat run, and A and C.
B and C went out
Yeah,
first.
so A now has an advantage.
A now has an advantage.
Well, I don't want to start.
Have a word with the MS.
I keep starting trouble, don't I?
You really do, Nick. You really do.
Look at me starting some trouble.
And I'm not sure whether that is a consideration. It's talking to teams and
wasn't too much issue here.
You are, mate. Open that door 'cause it's absolutely roasting.
There's too much noise.
Oh, is there? All right, so we just have to die.
Suffering for the art. That's what it is.
Now, you didn't believe me that we had good weather in the northeast. And here we are. All right. Look, there's a bit of blue sky up there.
Yeah, it's pointing at the blue sky from a distance.
It's very warm outside. It's gone to 20 degrees.
I have to be honest,
my record.
I don't know how you managed that drone footage you did for me earlier in the month, because it was like
blue
beautiful.
sky. There wasn't a cloud in it. Yeah,
I did tell you. No, that's obviously a very, very impressive bit of virtual reality done by Gary, isn't it?
Yeah, Photoshop. No. We do get good weather. Yeah, now and again. And today is absolutely perfect conditions for karting, or any form of motorsport, if you like. But right now it's karting, and it is perfect. And I'll tell you why it's perfect, Nick. It's because it's consistent. Either it rains constantly or it stays dry. That's what everybody prefers. There's no messing around with what are you tired. You know, because we can have a grid where some people are out on slick, some are out on wets.
And that may happen
because it's a dry, and that might happen tomorrow if your forecast comes true.
Well, you know, I don't want it to come true because it's not bad for me, but the cameraman are all going to get wet. And
yes, and they just whinge.
A damp cameraman is a whinging cameraman.
And you have to feed them tomorrow.
But it wasn't as bad as when we came in February last year and it was so cold and so wet, they generally asked me for like danger money. Mentally, Paul, who's
mentally scarred.
Paul, who's managed to get off the camera and be the producer for this one, told me he was mentally scarred.
So, Paul, as I know him as Peter.
Yes. Why?
I called him Peter all day yesterday. He didn't tell me otherwise.
He's the politest man in the world. It's not surprising.
Yes. So did they really ask you for? I mean, it was February.
It was, yeah.
And the wind was coming off the North Sea.
It was Frank who
it was pretty bad, wasn't it?
Here we go.
Now, just to ask, I think it was Michael Hetherington who asked the question: are there any rules regarding weaving?
Yes.
No, there isn't.
Okay. I'm glad you stopped me for that.
It's not so much. You're not allowed to weave from lane to lane. But you'll see the drivers just using the cart really hard in the corners and just getting the rear end to move around a lot. And you can do that on the brakes, you can do that under acceleration, and you can induce that with the steering. And you'll see that, and you'll see the front runners go away at quite a pace. And then they will slow everything down on the back straight. And there's quite an art in that, because with these carts these engines, these Rotax engines, are two-stroke. So you're relying upon the oil and fuel mixture being right. Now, what we do not want is for too much oil and fuel mixture to go to the engine at where we're barely crawling. So you'll see that the drivers put their hands down to the right-hand side. What they're doing is they're nipping the fuel feed pipe. They'll just nip it with their fingers. That restricts the fuel flow, and that stops the engines oiling up, because when the spark plug oils up, the engine stops. Yeah. And, you use the term, he's oiled up as he's pulled off to the side. And that's purely down to that. However, great work from George Holbrook and Kai Hunter at the front of the field. And we're about to get underway because that's a very orderly-looking grid. And George Holbrook gets off into the lead, but Kai Hunter straight across to the right-hand side. However, from the second row, that looks like
44.
James Lowther. James Lowther getting up into second. And he was caught napping, wasn't he? Kai Hunter slotted in behind the leader, but he was caught napping there into turn one.
But it caught napping both races.
He has indeed. But you know what? I think Kai's tyre pressures don't really start to come in until about lap 2, towards lap 2 into 3. So we'll keep an eye on that, because once again, Kai Hunter has dropped back in third. He's got the number 6 of Teddy Clinton right behind him, but up ahead of him, George Holbrook has led from Tristan Rennie and James Lowther, is it?
Lowther's in second now.
Lowther's in second.
He's got the 44. He's managed to get the Lewis Hamilton number. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, historically, everyone wanted the 27 or the 69. They either wanted to be Gilles Villeneuve or Filthy. That was the two choices you had, wasn't it, really? But now the 44 is becoming popular as well with the Lewis Hamilton there. Someone will have 63 with George Russell. Then the Hyder just says, I'm really sorry, I didn't want to be in third anymore, and sweeps up the inside of Lowther.
That was all about momentum coming off the hairpin at the paddock turn and getting down inside. It's not about outbraking into turn one, because the speed difference is just not there. But it was all about momentum, and Kai Hunter's made that stick. Now what it is, the job that Kai Hunter has in front of him is catching and indeed overtaking George Holbrook. Remember, Kai is now on a damage clawback, isn't he? Because he retired in his first heat with a bumper problem at the rear of the kart, and now he's moved to a metal bumper, which is actually 0.2 of a kilogram lighter than the plastic bumpers, would you believe? That's not going to affect that, because he'll obviously have to alter the overall weight of the kart for when he comes into Screwing. He'll have had a mince and dumplings from the cafe here at Warden Law. The cafe here at Warden Law is fantastic, actually, with quite a good selection of food and absolutely fabulous coffee, which will keep us awake by later on this afternoon, Nick.
I'm falling asleep with this fabulous action. Oh, up,
move for second.
Third and back. Hunter back down again. So Lowther not taking that move of the lap before.
No, and that caused a bit of a concertina effect, didn't it? And we had a few carts bunching up, a little bit of an unavoidable contact there, but it's all sorted itself out. And they're into the gasworks for the third time.
This is perhaps indicative of the issue Hunter has, in that he couldn't fight that overtaking manoeuvre, because if he did get hit and they end up facing the wrong way, he's got 0 points.
Yeah,
he has to score something, even though he's probably his best potential qualifying overall is probably like 15th or 14th. He can't afford to be 26th.
Yeah,
because he
can't-
knows what he has to do in the pre-final to get in place of the final.
He absolutely cannot, Nick. He cannot afford another Heat 1 where he retired with a bumper problem, falling off the back of the cart. It's Holbrook leading, Lowther in second, Hunter third, Clinton fourth, Sean Butcher is in fifth, Reese Hunter loses fifth and dropping down to sixth and just falling off the back of that train. I think, no, he's not. He's on the back of that train now, Reese Hunter, right on the tail of Sean Butcher. So keep an eye on the number 2. And down the inside of Kai Hunter has gone Teddy Clinton, both in the Dan Holland Racing stable there. So teammates there. Clinton moving ahead of Kai Hunter. And across the line they go. Holbrook leads. Lowther is in second. Teddy Clinton now up to third. Kai Hunter fourth. Sean Butcher fifth. Reese Hunter sixth. Lewis Harvey seventh. Eighth is Ben Casely. James Johnson up to ninth there. And Tristan Rennie down to 10th.
Holbrook's pulled out 1.7 seconds. He's just gone. We haven't seen this in any of the races so far today.
I'll tell you why, Nick.
Suddenly he's out. Has he got fresh tyres?
No, I'll tell you what. Well, that might be your theory bearing fruit.
Because he wasn't the first one.
It's because these guys are swapping and battling and slowing each other down.
Well, yeah, but I'm now thinking, Holbrook certainly wasn't in the first heat. Lowther wasn't in the first heat. And I don't remember Clinton's name in the first heat either. I think all these three guys in the top 3 come from the group that's running on fresh tyres.
It's a good theory of yours, yeah.
That's what I'm famed for.
Yeah.
Often they're completely rubbish.
No, I think you've got a point there. I think you've got a massive point there. And we'll certainly bear that in mind.
And then ignore it. So Lowther goes round the 44 car. That's the one that looks mainly black. And then the 2 Dan Holland cars, surprisingly, it's Clinton ahead of Hunter. Hunter with the O plate.
By the way.
Fine. Hunter with the O plate, because he won this championship last year, or the last time it was held at
last
Raceway.
Yeah.
But again, you're right. They are now flowing. But they're going to Lowther's pace. Lowther's not really defending. He's got enough of a gap over Teddy Clinton to do what he wants to do. They're just slowly drifting off the back of George Holbrook.
It's amazing how these drivers seem to have a telepathic as a move for fourth spot there.
Hunter lost 2 places there.
And as that Kai Hunter dropping down too, he's now got his brother behind him, and there's something certainly wrong with the way that the O-plate driver is going there as he drops another 2 spots and virtually out of contention. I'm just going to see if indeed, Reese Hunter has gotten ahead of him. One of the 2 places there, Kai Hunter dropping behind his brother Reese into 6th spot. So that's Reese and Kai Hunter now 5th and 6th as this race continues. George Holbrook has absolutely disappeared. And you know what? There's a telepathic kind of understanding behind as that's Reese Hunter.
Reese getting past,
Yeah, Reese getting past Sean Butcher there into the first.
And Kai as well. Kai just lent on him.
Kai's followed through.
So Sean Butcher lost 2 places to 2 brothers in 2 corners.
James Lowther and Teddy Clinton can see George Holbrook disappearing, and they'll kind of have this telepathic agreement of like, right, let's stop battling and let's catch Holbrook because he's getting away. And they know they don't want that to happen. And we've just got to see now. We're past half distance. We're actually a minute underneath half distance, so 4 minutes remaining. So still plenty of racing for this field of Rotax Max 162s to catch up.
Holbrook gained a 10th that time round. So, it's interesting because the Holbrook lost 10th, So Lawson and Clinton managed to work together, but it's going to take 20 laps to catch up at this rate. And there aren't 20 laps to race. So really, Holbrook has made the break. The first break we've seen in the 5th race of the day. But I'm pretty much certain it's because, he's driving well, but B, he's just got better rubber underneath him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Holbrook's with Dan Holland. James Lowther isn't. Teddy Clinton, Reese Hunter and Kai Hunter are. So Dan Holland pretty much dominating the front of this field. I mean, KR Sport is it? No, it's an Agenti car, isn't it?
60 from 44 from 6 from 2 from 0. So you've got 3 of Dan Hollands running 3rd, 4th and 5th, but it's Lowther and Holbrook leading. Holbrook still away. We're looking at the second place man, who's being a little bit, Clinton now getting a bit closer, but interestingly, both the Hunter brothers aren't really making much of an impression moving forward, are they?
No, they haven't. They've kind of, the gap between themselves and Teddy Clinton is about 0.7 of a second, and we'll see when they cross the line next time by if there's been any impression. Visually, it doesn't look like there's been much of a change. Nobody getting into a position to challenge there into the gasworks for the 9th time. It'll be 9 laps completed next time by. George Holbrook is leading by a good 2 seconds, and that really is a lifetime in this class of karting. It really is very, very rare that we see the leader pull away to such an extent, and he's really controlling this. Great pace from George Holbrook, and he's one of the favourites to take the O-Plate, no doubt about it. When we came into this event, second place becoming a bit of a battle with James Lowther. Now got Teddy Clinton perhaps in a position, and he does indeed. He moves down the inside on the brakes, and following him through, Rhys Hunter.
Nice move by Hunter
in
there.
the other Dan Holland kart.
Very opportune, wasn't he? Just
Yep.
kind of. I mean, I think it's interesting when they go into that overtake in the centre hairpin, because he actually needs a bit of. And you kind of wonder why there isn't a slightly more aggressive defence a lot of the time, because it is very much a sweep through. How have you managed to do that?
The problem is, Nick, on the inside racing line, the camber's kind of flat, and then towards the outside of the corner, it's adverse camber. So if you find yourself out there, which Lowther did, you've kind of got to back out of it a bit, and you just lose so much time. And Rhys Hunter, who was on the ideal line, made complete and utter advantage of that and followed him through. Now Lowther has got Kai Hunter. If this was car racing, Nick, he'd have it all over his mirrors.
He would, but he hasn't got any mirrors. He's got them all over his bumper, which he shouldn't touch.
And he knows he's there.
Yeah.
He knows he's there. And Kai Hunter, as well as that, Kai Hunter's got Sean Butcher to consider. Because Sean Butcher, who has indeed got Lewis Harvey and Ben Casely and James Johnson and Tristan Rennie right behind them. It's coming a bit of a train of carts there for the midfield. George Holbrook, though, very much in the lead of this race and already into the final turn to complete what will be 11 laps.
It's going to be very, very close if we get one or two more.
Yep, I think we're going to see.
No,
we're underneath it.
So he'll get the buzz next time round.
Great racing,
2 laps
Nick.
to go.
Great racing for fourth place there with Lowther having to defend down the straight to keep Kai Hunter behind him. And now we've got Lowther, Hunter, Butcher and Harvey. 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. Move for 7th there.
I think the interesting thing is, I think you said Lowther did have his kart set up for speed at the start of the race, and it's certainly now looking to be struggling compared to the competitive other karts around him. And Hunter, who was slow at the start and I think had a bit of a kind of... You kind of wonder where he is mentally after having that problem in the first heat.
Good point.
Because he looked a little bit kind of down for a bit and just letting things go past him. But now he's got into the race. And you look at that train as we start the last lap behind the 44 of James Lowther. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 karts just effectively being held up by the roadblock, which are the never-ending dying tyres of the 44 kart of Lowther.
Yeah, Lowther's tyres are certainly... kind of going off a little bit. Maybe the pressures have gone up a bit too high and now he's struggling for grip, and he's having to drive so defensively. He's dropping off the front three for sure, and just look at the concertina effect it's having with the karts behind him. We've got a bunch of karts just catching and getting onto that rear bumper of James Lowther, who's got a bit of a gap. Kai Hunter's lost connection there, and Kai Hunter's out of position there to try and get by him into the Gasworks for the final time.
Fine now, and it's going to over the line. Will come George Holbrook.
George Holbrook, though, takes the flag and crosses the line in first place. Second, then, is Teddy Clinton. Rhys Hunter rounds off the Dan Hunter Racing top three. James Lowther it was who finally hung on to that fourth place. Kai Hunter was in fifth. And then, pretty much bumper to bumper, Kai Hunter, Lewis Harvey in sixth. Sean Butcher seventh. Ben Casely eighth. James Johnson was ninth. 10th was Tristan Rennie. Brandon Klein-Nagelvoort was 11th. 12th was Kern Sang. 13th was Edwin Matthews. Oliver Meadows came through in 14th. And then in 15th spot, Tom Adams. Samuel Hawthorne was in 16th. Chris Simpson, 17th. Jack Stedman it was in 18th. Harry Gibson, 19th. Andrew Trevor was in 20th. Tom Shipman came through in 21st. 22nd was Tyler Jex. And right at the very beginning of this race, Kart 58, Oscar Hull pulling out of the race very early on.
So, another big battle. You got the results for the first heat, didn't you? Given to you at one point there. Was that the much? Is that the first one? Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Which was under horrendous amounts of what's the word for it?
Dispute.
That's it. Yeah, I was trying to think of what the exact word for. There've been a number of. Come have a look.
Yeah.
I think it's got a list of all the various disputes going on. Yes, we got. Nicole Southern got 5 seconds for incorrectly positioned front fairing. Tom Shipman, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 driver had incorrectly positioned front fairing, which means they'd knocked it off in an accident.
That's a nose cone penalty, isn't it?
Matty Hingley got 5 seconds for gaining unfair advantage, added Oscar Hall. None of this changed the fact that Kai Hunter ended up 22nd, or that Lewis Gilbert won. So points were awarded across the board. It didn't really affect any of the results, but there was a lot of going on. Fast lap though, Kai, in that first heat, but it wasn't looking quite as good in that second heat, was he?
Yeah, Kai Hunter there coming through in fifth, current all-plate holder, and having a bit of a nightmare of a start to his 2021 all-plate. Just to confirm, George Holbrook there, very dominant win. Winning margin 1.7 seconds at the flag from Teddy Clinton, who had an equally dominant second place, if that's what you can call it. Reece Hunter hanging on to his shirt tails there, just about 4/10 behind. Then in fourth place, James Lowther had a train of karts that he was kind of like the cork in the bottle, wasn't he? Kai Hunter just couldn't find a way by and came through in fifth. Lewis Harvey was sixth. Sean Butcher, they were absolutely nose to tail down this order. Ben Casely eighth, James Johnson ninth, and Tristan Rennie was in 10th place, rounding off the top 10. Next heat out is the second heat for our Minimax runners. That's our 9 to 12-year-olds. And it'll be Harrison Crowther once again starting on the pole position. Carts just being brought into the gridding area, the collecting area, just beginning to form up now. There's Harrison Crowther's cart just being lifted off and put into position.
Be looking for a better result than last time.
Lee Taylor there.
He was second, but in every other position in between it.
Lee Taylor there, just running number 12, Ethan Jeff Hall, who had a great run in the... now, Lee Taylor is the brother of Jay Taylor, who I mentioned, who are local lads. And Lee, a very reputed race mechanic, races all over the world in a very high level of karting, and he's here this weekend looking after Ethan Jeff Hall. Ethan Jeff Hall starting in fourth place. Shall we have a look at the grid for this one, Nick?
Go for it.
Yeah, let's have a look then. Harrison Crowther there, the number 7, already sat in the car, just getting some words of advice with alongside Scott Marsh. These two had a great battle last time through. Charles Green will start on the second row with Ethan Jeff Hall in the number 12 alongside. Adam Wooden is on the 5th spot on the grid. That's row 3, with in 6th spot Reg Haywood. And then on row 4, we've got Josh Camp in 7th, Leighton Cooper in 8th. Row 5 is Andrew Douglas in 9th and Chase Fernandez in 10th. Chase, remember, coming through to win the first heat this earlier on, and quite sort of, I would imagine, surprised at that, because it came from nothing, didn't it? With consternation abound, and through came Chase Fernandez starting in 10th. He'll be looking if he can repeat that. That would be quite a feat. Row 6 is Freddie Worlock and Aaron Full. And then we've got Hugh and Charman in row 7 with Levi Earl. Row 8 is Mikey Walker and Taylor Thompson, with row 9, Ellie Smith and Blake Ticehurst, rounding off that 18-cart field.
They're all waiting. I think they're kind of waiting, actually, for the scrutineering of the previous massive heat to clear the end of the track. They're still kind of
the track,
they haven't quite cleared the track as they push down, because obviously all the carts, however well or badly you finish, get scrutineered at the end. They get weighed. They drive through a weigh bridge, which is very frightening when you just go through it as a person on your own. And they also obviously have various other things checked, make sure you're running the same set of tyres and that sort of stuff.
But sometimes they check things like various things on the engine, maybe the squish on the engine. Fuel samples are taken and checked, because it's a controlled fuel. And if you've, add a little bit of performance-inducing additive, then our scrutineers will find out. They'll find out, because they put it through a very quick chemical process that shows up any kind of additive.
But yeah, because also one thing you can tell pretty quickly is it will change the specific gravity, so they can change that. They can work that out quite quickly.
The control fuel is also dyed. It's got like a glow-in-the-dark green.
Oh, I wonder what that was.
Yeah.
There was 3.
I thought Ben was offering me a shot.
It looked like Night Nurse. I thought there was. I thought there was. They had. I thought, why have they got 3 loads of Night Nurse out? And it's it's fluorescent. Yeah, fluorescent fuel. By the way, Gary Dodds is saying, who's obviously a good friend of ours.
He's part of the production team.
Yes, and he's pointed out the weather wasn't that good during the drone shoot. It was blowing a hoolie, he says.
Well, yeah, and Dodsey,
he's local,
being related to a polar bear, got sunburned. It doesn't even have to be sunny for Dodsey. Dodsey gets sunburned on Christmas Day.
Really?
Yeah. It just has to be cloudy. But a big thank you to Gary Dodds and
Absolutely,
Ian Hall, who together, it was a team effort. 2 drones up, Nick, not just one. Oh, no. That's no expense spared. It was a case of carling for Ian. He's easily pleased.
we kind of mixed the shots between the two.
And Dodsey Gary Dodds just wanted to be part of it, so he came along for nothing.
And thanks to Zach Fenning for doing the edit.
Yeah, brilliant.
Well, Zach, and thanks to you for the voice. Thanks to me
No,
for the
thanks
overvoice.
for the words.
For the words, and me for the overdub. Oh, love. We've thanked everyone, aren't we marvellous?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Spoiling the
me.
magic, telling people how this was produced.
I don't think anyone believes in magic anymore.
No.
This is not Secret and Roy at Las Vegas. This is us doing karting.
We mentioned Sport 21 and their support. We'd also like to thank the Electric Centre and Tony Holder and everybody at the Electric Centre. They've got various locations throughout the northeast, and basically for all your electrical needs.
So
everything from an industrial toaster
Oh,
to
an industrial toaster.
well, like sort of, like if you've got a cafe or something.
Oh, right,
you've got, to producing a lot of toast. Well, you'll even do your four slice toaster, I would imagine.
Well, I would hope there'd be no toast unturned.
Check them out on the internet, for all of your electric appliance needs. Slater's Electricals for all your electrical needs also, but not so much the hardware.
More the installation.
From Slater's, more the installation. And of course the North East Business Systems for their, they were late to the party, but we're still happy to have them
Absolutely.
on board as we've got carts on track, more information on the Electric Centre and a great offer that they have here at Karting North East.
You might have to hold that.
I'm going to hold that. Yes, I'm going to hold that because we've got carts on the track and we're about to go racing once again with Harrison Crowther and Scott Marsh getting off and getting some much needed temperature into those slick tyres. They need to get those tyres up to operating pressure and temperature so that they can go as fast as they possibly can, and they need a bit of grip in the tyres. They don't want to be sliding wide and allowing the other carts through. So Harrison Crowther, Scott Marsh leading the field round, Charles Green and Ethan Jeff Hall following them, Adam Wooden and Reg Hayward on the third row. Fourth row is Josh Camp and Leighton Cooper. They're already into the horseshoe and already towards the final turn. They look like they were in great and ordered fashion. Great work by the front row drivers. And here they are towards the red lights. The red lights will disappear, and we are indeed racing. It looks like second place there. Squeezing Harrison Crowther into turn one, but he didn't squeeze hard enough, and Scott Marsh has to slot in behind as they go into the first right-hander of the dogleg, into the second part of the dogleg. And this is all important to fire out of there towards St John's and having a look down the inside there. Scott Marsh just had a bit of a peek into St John's. It's not really a passing place, and Scott Marsh having to defend. Change for third there. And it didn't stick. He went down the inside, but round the outside of the first to the second. Now it swaps again. And this is where the tyres are not really on, are they? They're slipping and sliding around.
Jeff Hall again getting to third.
It's Ethan Hall into third there. Nick, is that right?
Yep, Ethan Jeff Hall, he took 4 goes at it. He was absolutely persistent. He wasn't going to be behind Charles Green for more than a couple of corners. Marsh actually jumped the start slightly to be in the lead because it should have been Harrison Crowther. It doesn't matter because Crowther got him back at the end of the first straight, but anyway.
Again, aren't you causing trouble again?
So it's Harrison from Marsh, Jeff Hall, Charles Green, Adam Wood and Reg Hayward. How could Reg Hayward be between 9 and 12 years old? It sounds like he owned a butcher shop in the 60s. Reg Hayward, prime cuts of meat. What a bit of pork. Leighton Cooper, Andrew Douglas, Josh Camp and Aaron Fool. Anyway, so stop laughing. It's Harrison Crowther from Scott Marsh as they sweep back around the second part of the Cineres and into the chicane.
Into the back chicane. The leader, Harrison Crowther, he's broke away from the field slightly, but there's a battle going on behind him.
Ethan Hall's going to go up the inside to Scott Marsh. Nice move.
Ethan Jeff Hall into second, and Lee Taylor's tyre pressures are working very well indeed because he's come through the field from fourth place on the grid. And now the question is, Nick, can he move on that leader? The leader looks over his shoulder. Harrison Crowther has to look over his shoulder. Who's he got behind him? He doesn't really know because all he sees is the white fairing of that number 12. He'll know it's another cart. We'll see if Ethan Jeff Hall can close that gap because while these carts were squabbling for second and third, and the squabbling still continued.
Oh, he
and
pushed
a
him
little
out.
bit of contact. Yes,
eased him out there.
It was Scott Marsh who went down the inside of Charles Green.
Dear.
And there was a little bit of a squeeze went on there. Scott Green sticks that cart into third place, back into third place because he got he got moved on Charles Green the previous lap and he's just got that third place back. Let's see how that settles, as indeed Ethan Jeff Hall has moved very much onto the rear bumper of the leader, Harrison Crowther. We've got a race for the lead developing.
Yeah, it was also a good lap last lap round for our winner of the first heat. It was Chase Fernandez. He went from 11th to 7th during the last lap. I mean, he's a little bit now cut adrift from the top 5. I think he may have moved to 6th. He might be 7th. But he was kind of cut adrift slightly. No, he's in 6th. Cut adrift from the top 5. Yeah, so he's now kind of bridged that gap. He's got to make up about 1.1 second on our 5th place man, Andrew Douglas. But Crowther coming under increasing pressure from Ethan Jeff Hall as 3rd and 4th is breaking out into a battle again, but this time it's Marsh and Hayward.
Any change for 3rd place, and that looks like a move by Reg Hayward into 3rd place inside Scott Marsh. It was a textbook move down the inside into that left-hand centre hairpin. They're already at the back chicane though, and out towards another hairpin and another potential outbreaking spot on this Warden Law circuit.
Wow, 1 to 4 nailed together now. Harrison Crowther was, I think, slightly slow out of the hairpin, that chicane. Didn't carry the speed, and it just constantly everyone up because Ethan Jeff Hall just didn't have enough to get past him. So I think they may have tripped each other up going through the chicane. Now 1, 2, 3, 4 nailed together. A little bit of a gap to 5, and Fernandez, the winner of the first heat, in 6th.
Through turn 1, they're so close. You could picture 10 over them. They're that close through Brian's Bend for the 5th time then, and into the dogleg, 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Crowther, Jeff Hall, Hayward and Marsh.
You don't want to do that. He didn't want to do that.
And there goes the 37, Reg Hayward.
Ethan Jeff Hall took far too much of the inside of the dogleg, of the outside of the dogleg, hopped over and just lost momentum, and up the inside went Reg Hayward in 2nd place.
That's a balancing act through that corner there, Nick. And if you do, if that happens to you, you lose so much momentum. Now then, the question is, can Reg Hayward do anything about Harrison Crowther? We know that Ethan Jeff Hall, last time through, couldn't really get anywhere near the rear bumper. He could get close, but not close enough. Let's see if Reg Hayward can have a try now. Out onto the
very close
start, finish straight once again. 5 laps in the bag. He hasn't got the momentum to come alongside. Oh, has he indeed?
Beautiful. Hayward's just got so much speed. Where was Reg last race?
Wow, that was incredible.
Their teammates, so perhaps it wasn't the ultimate scrap back from Harrison Crowther, who's qualified first, but never actually, if you watch this one again,
that was just pure drafting.
Just speed and drop. But he was helped by, he wasn't fought too heavily by Crowther. But Crowther, who's qualified on pole, but in neither race has looked like the fastest car. Got 2nd through a series of obscure consequences in Heat 1. But now he's 2nd again, but he's got Ethan Jeff Hall and Marsh right on his tail. He moves out a little bit wide, cuts across, weaves a bit, and that actually just seems to open the door in many ways. Ethan Jeff Hall just nudges him out, and will he lose another place, or can he come back for the horseshoe? No. So he stays in 3rd, and Scott Marsh frustrated there to have to sit behind Harrison Crowther.
Well, that was almost side by side, 2 wide around the Gasworks hairpin. Here they are across the line then. Reg Hayward leads, Ethan Jeff Hall in 2nd, Harrison Crowther in 3rd, Scott Marsh in 4th, Chase Fernandez up to 5th. He's still coming. Andrew Douglas is in 6th, Aaron Full 7th, 8th is Adam Wooden, Charles Green in 9th, and rounding off the top 10 is Levi Earl. Back to the front though, Nick. Yeah,
and it's noticeable now that Reg Hayward, once he's got ahead, is able to gap the rest of the field, and I now want to watch the first race again to see where he was in the first race, because this pace has come from, it seems nowhere, but we did have a lot of shuffling about in that first heat, so it may have been just ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time. But in 2nd, 3rd and 4th, it's Ethan Jeff Hall, Harrison Crowther and Scott Marsh. Marsh again looking up the inside. It seems that there's a weakness for Harrison on the whole coming out of the chicane, which means he's vulnerable going into the Gasworks hairpin. This time not so much. Chase Fernandez has got into 5th place, and he's now trying to bridge the gap to the top 4, but he'll still have a good total points with the 1st and the 5th.
He will indeed. This is, of course, the 2nd and final heat for Minimax. Next time these karts will be out will be for their pre-final tomorrow. And all important positions on the grid for tomorrow then being fought over right now. And if anything, it's calmed down a little bit, hasn't it? We've calmed down. Reg Hayward still leads. Ethan Jeff Hall in 2nd, Harrison Crowther in 3rd, Scott Marsh in 4th. No places all the way down. We've got to go all the way down to...
we need to see that one again. What on earth happened there? But taken out was the 7th part of Harrison Crowther going into the chicane. Let's have a look at this now. So he's... Yep. Oh, coming in there.
Contact.
So it was definitely done by Scott Marsh, and I think that's going to be questionable about Marsh's driving. I don't know whether Harrison lost a bit of momentum, but suddenly it was like...
He just put his cart down the inside as he turned into the... It's kind of one line through that back.
But it was never on that move.
Not really, no. And the front left corner made contact with the right rear corner of Crowther. And once again, Harrison Crowther falls foul. And from pole position, to.
He's going to be towards
down
the
the
bottom
field.
of this one, and more importantly, he has a second, so he's going to be in the middle of the
Down to 15th.
So he'll be qualifying somewhere in the middle of the pack, perhaps bottom like 10th or something like that, and that is going to cause him a busy day tomorrow, and especially the pre-final, to get himself in position to get to the main final. But at the front, Reg Hayward now leading with 2 minutes and 13 seconds to go. Ethan Jeff Hall has actually sort of bridged the gap slightly. They both managed to give a little bit of space to Scott Marsh. The winner out of this chaos again, Chase Fernandez. Hello, my name's Chase. I'm going to drive both of these races really sensibly. Oh, look at me make up places.
He really has, hasn't he? He took the win last time.
And it's like he has effectively picked up places by doing what's commonly known as driving his cart very well.
Yeah, and just managing to stay out of trouble. And I mean,
but that's heat racing, isn't it? That's what it's about.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's being patient. It's not being drawn into anything. It's making the right decisions at the right time. And when I say decisions, these decisions are being made split seconds. And remember, these drivers are 9 to 12 years old.
I know. They know the only decision they have to make is have a cheese string or a Lunchable.
That's right. That's the sort of decision that should be made. However, high-speed decisions now as we head down to the Gasworks hairpin for the 10th time then. And Reg Hayward, he does indeed look in command because Ethan Jeff Hall has followed him round in his wheel tracks pretty much the whole of this race. We're almost inside the final minute. There'll be
two more.
Potentially two more laps. We're just crossing the line now with a minute on the clock.
You know, I've only known these drivers for the last couple of hours. The one thing I do know is I don't think Ethan Jeff Hall's a settler. I don't think he'll settle for second if he's got a chance to make first. I mean, even though points-wise, given what else... If I was his team manager and I had a radio, I would say, Ethan, it's fine, sit there. It's a great points all for you compared to the other guys. But my feeling is that he's going to just go for it if he gets the chance.
I think so. It's going to be hard, though, because Reg Hayward's had the pace throughout this heat. And now we've got first, second and third.
You've got Marsh bridging the gap again, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. We have indeed. Scott Marsh is coming back at that second place. He's losing Chase Fernandez. Chase Fernandez beginning to drop off the back. And there's a change for position.
And that,
I'm not sure what happened there, Nick.
But it'd be good to see that again. It's almost like it was deliberate. Don't we can see that one again, Paul. But what happened there? No, just a really bad drive out of the chicane. And when he came back again, he almost seemed to launch himself onto the back of the car. He did. Just found himself in the wrong place.
You called it, Nick. You said he wasn't settling for second, and he certainly is not settling for second. We've got another 2 laps of racing. There was 8 seconds on the clock, so we're going to see the last lap board next time by as Ethan Jeff Hall takes over the lead of this heat. Reg Hayward in second, Scott Marsh in third. They are nose to tail. Chase Fernandez, you just
Reg's got the inside, so Reg's got the inside, takes the lead back again. Now, it must have been a mistake on the exit chicane, but no, it's over and under. Oh, it's going to go wide, and there's a chance. He just stays on it there, but he's going to lose second, and he goes into second. There goes Scott Marsh. So Reg goes into third, and who's there to pick up the pieces? It's Chase Fernandez. Can he get the speed into the Gasworks hairpin?
I was just about to say Chase Fernandez there. Into third place down the inside.
It's gone round.
There's contact. I think we've lost Chase Fernandez in that little melee there. We just look back towards the Gasworks. I think they continued. We'll see as they cross the line how that panned out. But Chase Fernandez...
1 to go, isn't it?
Almost, 1 lap to go. Almost made that stick. It's Reg Hayward in third. Andrew Douglas is in fourth. And Chase Fernandez recovered to fifth. Adam Wooden
He was facing the wrong way. That's impressive stuff.
Yeah, absolutely spun round.
This is what happens. Chase Fernandez has made so many positions without having when he tries to overtake someone, it goes horribly wrong. You see, don't just drive round Chase. It's fine.
The thing is, he's going to be happy with fifth. He started 10th. That's great moving up the order.
He's got some real race pace, but he didn't have over one lap. But don't remember, of course, Joe, the 1 lap was not fully dry in these sort of temperatures.
So we've got the lead now. Ethan Jeff Hall it is, and these.
Few corners to go.
Lee Taylor will be happy with this, into the final stages of the lap, into the paddock hairpin, for the final time. Then Ethan Jeff Hall will take the flag in first place. Scott Marsh. Scott Marsh must feel really lucky there to take second place.
Great race.
Yeah, Reg Hayward will finish in third. Andrew Douglas fourth.
Scott his lap of honour there.
So Reg Hayward finishing third. Andrew Douglas in fourth. Chase Fernandez in fifth. Blake Ticehurst in sixth. Let's have a look back at some of the
highlights. Yeah, let's see. I think we've got so many highlights really.
There was. Try and pick one.
So this is the accident which is going to. Is this one? Let's take. Yeah, they're going up the inside there. Yeah, racing through.
I would like to see the Chase Fernandez one. And there it is.
And
just climbed up. Chase Fernandez trying to get by Reg Hayward into the Gasworks hairpin and just climbed up and lost that position. So just to confirm then, Ethan Jeff Hall with a very fine Minimax Heat 2 win in the number 12. Scott Marshall was in second, Reg Hayward third, Andrew Douglas fourth, Chase Fernandez, he's got to be happy with fifth, isn't he? He probably won't. I mean, been challenging for that third spot. Blake Ticehurst sixth, Adam Wooden in seventh, Ewan Charman eighth, Levi Earl ninth, Charles Green 10th, Josh Campbell was in 11th, 12th was Aaron Full, Mikey Walker was 13th, Freddie Worlock was 14th, Harrison Crowther started from pole again and he had an absolutely fraught time and he finished 15th. Leighton Cooper was 16th, Taylor Thompson 17th and Ellie Smith was 18th.
Well, we need a rest after that one. So you had a lovely chat with the people from JAG.
I did, JAG Rotax, yeah.
And let's see what happened there. JAG Rotax with Joe earlier, telling us about what it takes to run the Rotax teams.
Massive undertaking with them beating like the British Show Plate here at Warden Law, and it's all down to JAG Rotax. And I've got Gary and Tina Shield from JAG Rotax who are going to explain a little bit about what it means to JAG Rotax. Gary, massive undertaking here. What does the O Plate mean to your company?
It's a big event in the UK for JAG Rotax. Yearly it gets handed to different circuits, and it's most probably one of the biggest events in the UK calendar.
I would imagine, Tina, with almost 100 entries here, the pressure of getting the logistics right. Give us a little bit of insight about just the logistics of putting this thing together.
But, I mean, we have to rely on the club obviously giving us the information regarding tyre quantities and which batches they're wanting. So for us, the sooner we get the information, and we hope there are no complications getting the tyres from us to the event. Gary will tell you a little bit about how we keep the tyres and how they come up. But, I mean, it hasn't been a problem. There are problems, but this one hasn't been a problem. So the tyres have arrived, they're here, and everybody seems happy. But they get 2 sets of slicks, 1 set of race tyres, which they're probably going to be using today with the wet again. Yeah.
Quite a nightmare, I would imagine.
It is a nightmare. So it's pressure. I mean, the phone rings sort of non-stop up to the week of the championship, just to make sure that the tyres are here, because things can go wrong and things do go wrong. But luckily they're here, so yeah.
Good job. Yeah. Gary, the tyres are, everybody talks about tyres. Doesn't matter whether you're in Formula One or here at the top level of British karting. Tyres are crucial, aren't they? So they're heavily regulated and heavily scrutinised. Give us a bit of background.
Yes, I mean, the storing of the tyres is very important. They come in by lorry to us. They're batched with us. So with a championship, any tyres that go out to a championship, they are always taken from a single batch, never cross-batched. If we have a case where we're 1 tyre short from a batch, we will go to another batch. We make sure 100% that every tyre comes from the same batch.
And when you say batch, that's down to the actual compound of rubber and not wanting to mix a compound. Is that because that can be crucial, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when they come into us, there's a date they come into us, there's a date they leave us. So that is a batch. When they come into us, a date is put on that batch, and that batch is kept separate from another batch. We stock rotate, so older tyres will come down, new tyres go up. And like I say, every single tyre for a championship event will 100% come out of the same batch.
Tyres are always kept in the boxes, they're never left out the boxes. We try to keep the unit as temperature controlled as we can. So yeah, we're quite careful on how we stock and rotate our tyres.
And all the prep over, you guys have done your job. When the carts go out on track, you guys can kick back, have a cup of tea and sit back and watch and enjoy, I take it.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah. Thanks for talking to us, guys.
Lovely.
Great to meet you.
Thanks a lot.
Always great to catch up and get a bit of insight as to what goes on behind the scenes at any motorsport event, and quite the logistical nightmare that we heard there from the guys and girls at JAG Rotax. We are very much in the swing of things with just 3 more of our heats to come. Next up is the junior Rotax classes, and then we've got senior Rotax 177s, and the final heat of the day, in fact the final heat of the weekend, will be the senior Rotax for groups A and B. That's the 162 class. We've got a grid already formed, and it's quite a grid. 31 carts.
Wow.
For Junior Rotax. And remember, Nick, we had quite a battle for
3 minutes. How long do I have? I had
mate.
3 minutes,
Well
27
done,
seconds.
yeah,
to get,
well done.
I was only 3 seconds late.
You just missed it there. In fact, we could have had a pause for silence there. I didn't realise you were that close. Well done. Well done.
We were going to talk about Electric Centre and their offer.
Yes, I was. So, if you log on, I'm not sure where you'll actually find this offer, but if you log on to the Electric Centre website, they're offering a great offer of free go-karting for two when you spend over £1,000
On electrical goods.
on electrical goods that
Which
you
is
need
really,
anyway.
really annoying because I've just entirely equipped my kitchen out in the last few months.
Well, there you go. That's exactly what the Electric Centre will do for you. It's that kind of thing. This kind of offer's geared up for someone who's refitting their kitchen.
What we'll do is we will put the link into the description on the YouTube page. It's not there at the moment. It'll be there in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'll put it in the description of the YouTube page, and I'll make sure it's in tomorrow's.
Great. Yeah, the information will be there for everyone. So if you are about to refit your kitchen there, why don't you get some karting out of that? And of course, the Warden Law kart track is not just a competitive kart track for the likes of, British Open or British Championships or this level of karting. Come and try karting out at Karting North East.
Love to, but no one ever offers me a chance to see it. I've been here 3 times now and never got anywhere near a kart.
We've got the karts for the Junior Rotax class out on track with Harry Linden on the pole position. And remember, Harry Linden and Daniel Guinchard, winner of the first heat, absolutely down to the thousandths of a second. Exactly the same lap time in qualifying. 50.203 were their time, and they're on the front row. Second row is Leon Henderson and Ted Bradbury. Third row is Gabe Fairbrother and Daniel Armstrong. Sam Gornall and Jez Williams are on row 4. Row 5 is Jamie Perrelli and Gustav Yusukovs. Charlie Hart and Mikey Porter are on row 6. Pearson Bullock Carter and Scott Lapsley are on row 7. Neil Clark and Jai Lawrence are on row 8. Row 9 is Finlay Watson and Sophie Kinghorn. Ryan Willis and Declan Russell are on row 10. Row 11 is Lucas Jex and Isaac O'Shea. Matthew Lambert and Ethan Lomax are on row 12. Evie Poulin and Oliver Martinsky are on row 13. Row 14 is Brentley Sims and Bella Franklin. Ollie Goodyear and Leo Licastro are on row 15, and running off the 31 kart field, Holly Mial. They are at the Horseshoe, Nick, and about to go racing. And once again, our front row, our Harry Linden, the pace setter on the pole position, keeps a very ordered grid, as is Daniel Guinchard, and they're in great grid order there already through the final turn, and they'll come out onto the grid markings and stay in the lane until we go racing, and indeed we do, and into the lead, almost making...
Over-squeeze.
Indeed, Daniel Guinchard, it was on the Agenti Motorsport kart, moving into the lead there, and a very crowded field of Junior Rotax through Brian's Bend and into the dogleg for the first time, but it is very much
the 49 car Guinchard,
Guinchard. He made it happen.
A little bit aggressive, I thought. Because
you've got to be aggressive.
No, but he almost had Lind on the grass.
Well, you've got to be aggressive. But his rear wheel was level with the front bumper of Harry Linden, who just didn't quite get off the line quicker than Guinchard. Guinchard had it done by the time we got to turn 1.
So the Gasworks hairpin looking a little bit less action-packed than normal. Though I think the position 6th and 5th may have changed. The red cart going past the Dan Holland cart, I think, happened there going into that leap into the hairpin, which has been the most popular overtaking point, but by far the least spectacular.
Yes, very much. You've got to say that. They're pretty much line astern across the line for the first time. Got a little bit of kart spreading out down the field, but it's Guinchard, Linden, Henderson, Fairbrother, Gornall, Daniel Armstrong in 6th, Jamie Perrelli in 7th, Jez Williams, Mikey Porter and Ted Bradbury rounding off the top 10.
There's been a change.
Look at that.
4 car came through. Sam Gornall came through, but there were 9 carts nailed together with a bit of a gorilla growing over and under there between Linden and Guinchard. Who's going to come out? It's really right in the way. There's Liam Henderson nudging out the second place man, and I have absolutely no idea what order they're in.
Harry Linden, I think, has been mugged completely going into the hairpin there, and he's on the outside line.
5th, I think he's going to be,
into the Gasworks. He's almost down to 6th. Try and make sense.
And he's been pushed out the parking bay on the side there, wasn't he?
He really has. He's been absolutely pushed and bullied all the way down the field. Let's see how it pans out then.
He's been bullied so much, he's been on Twitter about it.
Guinchard leads for lap 2, through completing lap 2. It's Leon Henderson in 2nd, Sam Gornall 3rd, Daniel Armstrong, grid battling there from Daniel up,
Linden, 8th.
up to 4th, Jimmy Perrelli 5th, Jez Williams 6th, 7th is Gabe Fairbrother, and guess where Harry Linden is?
Just at 8th.
8th place.
I know.
Yeah.
I just kind of circumnavigated your big reveal there, didn't I?
Yes, you did spoil it.
I just thought by the time you got down there, we'd have changed formal
It
positions.
probably would have, yeah. I mean, you know what, Nick? This is only the second heat. What's it going to be like in the final? It is absolutely.
Chaos.
This is what I was saying earlier when we opened the show, you know. It is such an intense weekend. It's all about. It's got to happen this weekend. It's all about the moment, and it'll be all about the moment when we get towards the pre-final and the final tomorrow afternoon. So if you're watching today, you simply cannot miss tomorrow. And we're bringing you the finals, the pre-final and the finals tomorrow, and there's more action.
Is that possible?
It's not even.
Not even sure they can have more action, but
it's serious enough for forming these positions that we're racing for now. Is just to set the grid for the finals. There's not even a trophy for who wins this one.
Look at the pre-final.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, there's not even a trophy for who wins this. And
well, after
the way
having
that these guys are
been
racing.
in a massive train, they've now decided, like an American train, they now decided to go Noah's Ark 2x2 for a bit, weren't they? The second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth have come together due to an overtaking manoeuvre. I think that the 4 car of Sam Gornall now has dropped to 4th. Daniel Armstrong picked up 3rd. Still Gunchard from Henderson. Right together. Henderson decides not to look up the inside at the gasworks. The other 5 just trail behind in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. But there's now quite a pleasant gap for 1st and 2nd, isn't there?
Yeah, they've seemed to have broken away, and I think that's got all of the squabbling for 3rd place and down over. Here they come across the line and complete 4 laps. Gwynchard and Henderson lead. They've got a gap to about, would you believe, the gap to Daniel Armstrong, now up to 3rd. Great driving from Daniel Armstrong in the Dan Holland racing car, just under a second there between 2nd and 3rd. But Armstrong, Gornall, Perrelly, Williams, Linden, Bradbury, Fairbrother, Porter rounding off the top 10. Gustav Yuzukovs, keep an eye on him, he's in 11th, but he was moving very firmly through the field. And being followed by Charlie Hart. Expect more of that.
Let's make our focus that battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. I think the first 2 are kind of relaxing at the moment, enjoy it, but there's all going on behind them as 7 carts look for the 3rd position overall. But in the middle, that's a good call by me, wasn't it? Straight away got a movement, and Gornall goes back past Armstrong. You've been ahead for a lap, that's his lot. And he now is going to look to try and perhaps gap Armstrong and get himself up to the top 2. But my guess is that they're going to carry on being sucked together by the aero effect.
Well, Daniel Armstrong, he's just indicating and somebody
through.
Has he got a problem? Daniel Armstrong off. And I've got to say, Daniel Armstrong assisted us with our track explanation. He was the kart, you see, that opened the show, and that is absolutely
Do we know why?
terrible news there. There wasn't anything apparent. We saw Daniel's arm go out, and it was kind of waving the cart behind him if Sam Gornall through.
Did he get a flag of some
Jez
sort?
Williams went through as well. Harry Linden has gone through. Jimmy Perrelly has gone through. In fact, everybody's gone through because he's off.
Very strange.
And into the collecting area, into Parc Fermé. Battle for the lead continues, though. Daniel Gwynchard, Leon Henderson pulled out a gap of just on about 0.8 of a second to now 3rd place man Sam Gornall. Jez Williams it is in 4th. Harry Linden next. Then Jimmy Perrelly.
I wasn't how disappointed he didn't kick the cart a la Max Verstappen at Baku, I must admit. He just,
very
just got out, looked at it, put his gloves down and said, it's like, oh, well, that's not
You
great,
know why?
is it?
He's been there before, as Daniel. A lot of
Good
experience.
to know if he was called in.
I'm not sure. We haven't got any information about any mechanicals. We're already past half distance, Nick.
Really? Oh, blimey, okay.
4.5 minutes remaining.
Right. I thought we just started.
No, these races are so frantic, aren't they? 10 minutes and 1 lap. They're absolutely over in a flash, and there's so much action in karting. It's very hard for us to keep a tab on just what is happening. But very much what is happening is Daniel Gwynchard leading this field into that downhill sweeping right-hand gasworks hairpin.
Gornall and Williams really going for it. So Gornall thought he was fine once Armstrong got, but no, Williams is all over him now. So 3rd and 4th is where the action is. The first 2 seem to have settled down to where they want to be, but there's a big, big battle as Gornall crosses the line. Jez Williams right in his wheel tracks as they go around the first corner.
That's the battle to watch, isn't it? 2nd and 3rd, nose to tail.
3rd and 4th.
Into the 3rd and 4th, sorry, yes, keeper's right, Nick. 3rd and 4th into the dogleg. Now, these two not quite squabbling and no real challenge being mounted by Jez Williams, but looking at that 5th place cart of Harry Linden. Now, don't forget, Harry Linden started this race on the pole position. He's currently in 5th place, and he's keeping what I always call a bit of a watching brief there on the carts in front of him. He's just waiting for them to trip over one another, and he'll be there, just keeping that cart just in touch as the first 4 carts go through. You're right, Nick, it's 2 by 2, isn't it? 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Harry Linden's got Jamie Perrelly just behind him in 6th. Out onto the start-finish straight. 8 laps completed. Daniel Gwynchard leads. Leon Henderson 2nd. Sam Gornall 3rd. Jez Williams 4th, Harry Linden 5th, Jamie Perrelly, Ted Bradbury, Mikey Porter, Charlie Hart and Gabe Fairbrother. Gustav Yusukov's just outside the top 10 in 11th spot, hasn't been able to break into that top 10.
Yeah, and the battle now is getting really hotting up with 3rd and 4th. Williams looking a lot more like he's looking for a move past Gornall as they go around the further centre hairpins. Now, it is a point, really. The first and second may start getting more interesting. We get down to the last 2.5 minutes. But they've all got those little gaps. But it is Linden now who's trying to bridge that gap. Don't forget, he's been first, he's been second, he's been third, he's been fourth, he's been fifth, he's been sixth, he's been seventh and eighth, and now he's back to fifth again. So he's effectively doing the concertina effect. He's on a springy wise, bungee jumping through the field.
And he had the same pace as the leader in qualifying for sure, but he just seems to not be able to make any inroads into that gap for 4th spot. And if anything, Nick, it's beginning to be a bit equidistant there as the Agenti Motorsport kart continues to lead them round. Daniel Guinchard, winner of the first heat for Junior Rotax, currently on target to do the same for the second.
This is after the excitement of the first several laps. It's now calmed down into are these guys actually sitting there going, do you know what, these points are quite good?
Yeah,
I think I'll stick with these
an element
points.
of that.
It's the second heat. This is the end of the day. I don't want to end the day in the field somewhere. Beautifully mown grass, by the way. I don't know who did that. It's lovely. The track does look in fantastic condition, and the environs as we sweep down the Gasworks hairpin. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're closer again, aren't they? But with 1 minute and 35, 3 or 4 laps to go.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, I think it's 3 laps ago, and they're kind of going, It's
again, I'll use it again. It's a high-speed game of chess. I'm not sure whether anybody out there, they're absolutely on the limit of these karts, and I'm not sure if anyone out there, all the way down the field, in fact, are in a position. Gabe Fairbrother's lost 2 places that time by and dropped outside the top 10. Gustav Yusukov's up into the top 10 at last. Being run by Hunter Motorsport here. Brand new team. Reese Hunter's team. Reese running in the senior Rotax, but forming a team this year to run from Warden Law. So it's a local team that we see running here for the first time in the All Plate.
I'd like to see Williams make a move here now. He's got a chance, I think, if he really wants to push but make the effort here. No, just didn't bother going. But may have been the line actually by Gornall. Gornall cut off the chance of getting into the hairpin.
So the first 2 complete what will be lap 11. There is 30 seconds on the clock, so it'll be last lap board next time by. And the question is, can Leon Henderson get onto the rear bumper of Daniel Guinchard? I think not. However,
can anyone get onto anyone's rear bumper and make a move? But 3rd and 4th are the closest, but they've been this way going around the St John's every single time. We've not, and this time I thought he was going to send it, but it's just some excellent defensive driving by Sam Gornall, which has somehow thrown him towards Leon Henderson. So Henderson had a bad corner and dropped back because it's a 2/10 of bad corner and you're in trouble. Now Henderson's got Gornall right up beside him. Can he get up the inside? And he has. So Gornall's going to take the second place. There's going to be some bumping and boring. Will it be followed through by Williams? Williams just diseased out by Henderson, but 2nd and 3rd changes, which is a surprise.
Yeah, Henderson was caught a bit by surprise there, I'm sure. Having dropped off the back of Guinchard, I'm pretty sure he didn't expect Sam Gornall to be as close, but he was indeed as they come through and onto their final lap. Guinchard leads, Sam Gornall now in second. Leon Henderson has now got Jez Williams right on his rear bumper, and Jez Williams a little bit disappointed he wasn't in a position to take advantage of that move last time at the Gasworks hairpin. But just look at Harry Linden there in 5th, moving on to the back of Jez Williams. So into the final lap, and remember, Nick, you're right, it's discretion being the better part of valour. Are they going to sit there and take the points, or are they going to risk?
If I was Harry Linden, I'd throw one because he's had a difficult weekend so far. But the rest of them have gone round in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, Linden went very wide at the Gasworks hairpin. Still kept the place up, but he was really wide. And Jamie Perry thought, I've got a chance here. But they're going to cross the line now. And it's going to be a good win for Daniel Guinchard. Sam Gornall 2nd, Leon Henderson 3rd, Jez Williams 4th, Harry Linden 5th, Jamie Perry 6th. And I think, as we said a couple of times in comms there, I think discretion finally took the better part of youthful exuberance.
Yeah, and another heat win for Daniel Guinchard. It's going to put him on the pole position. I'm not going to work out the grid at this stage.
No.
But Daniel Guinchard will definitely be on the pole, as he's had 2 heat wins, so that's an easy one to work out. He will be on the pole for the pre-final. Daniel Guinchard takes the win. Sam Gornall was in second, Leon Henderson 3rd. Jez Williams finished 4th. Harry Linden finally finished 5th. Jamie Perrelly, great 6th place for him. Ted Bradbury was in 7th. Charlie Hart through into 8th. Scott Lapsley 9th. Mikey Porter was in 10th. 11th was Gabe Fairbrother, just dropping outside the top 10 once again. Gustav Yusukov's there in 12th. Neil Clark was 13th. Declan Russell 14th. Sophie Kinghorn was in 15th. Pearson Bullock Carter was 16th. Jai Lawrence was 17th. Isaac O'Shea was 18th. 19th with Finley Watson. Bella Franklin coming through in 20th. 21st, Ethan Lomax. Evie Poulan was 22nd. Matthew Lambert was 23rd. Ollie Goodyear 24th. Holly Mayall was 25th. Leo Lee Castro 26th. Last of the finishers, Brentley Sims, was 27th, with Oliver Martinsky, Daniel Armstrong, Ryan Willis and Lucas Jex becoming retirements there in that second and final heat for the junior Rotax.
I'm so looking forward to those finals.
Yeah, absolutely.
When the gloves are off with these guys, it's going to be unbelievable. Two fantastic races. Next up is the Rotax slightly larger. I can't call it heavy because that's us. And, of course, making his comeback is Jay Taylor in the Rotax Heavy. And earlier, Joe in his shorts went to have a little chat with Jay.
About to have a conversation with Jay Taylor, a kid that I've watched here at Warden Law since he was literally this big. He just went round and round and round all day. Well, he's making a big comeback. He's a former club champion, multiple club champion. And this weekend for the O Plate, Jay Taylor is back. He's a little bit taller now, though. I need a box. Jay, it's a comeback for you this weekend. Why is it taking the O Plate to come to Warden Law to get you back in the seat?
Given the opportunity a couple of weeks ago, I got asked to race this meeting, so it'll be one of them things that I couldn't turn down. Yeah. Big meeting up here on the home circuit. Why wouldn't I do it?
Multiple champion. The place hasn't changed that much, or has it?
Yeah, a lot's changed now on this circuit. Big changes since Matthew turned up, but all our good drivers have turned up this weekend, so we've got to come and see if we can still get in the seat now, won't we?
And who's your main competition going to be? Everybody?
Everybody this weekend, definitely. Given these new tyres on this kart on the 177, it's a bit harder now with all the rubber on the track, so not quite used to that, but I'm sure we'll get there in the end.
It's renowned for being a physical track. Is that because of the high speeds we see here?
Yeah, you never got the wheels straight, more or less, have you? You're always turning. It's a very difficult circuit, so not being in the car for that long, it's going to be hard.
And do you feel that the physicality of the place will come into play? You're not seat fit, you're clearly fit, but you're not seat fit. Does that make
Definitely.
a difference?
Without a doubt. I was struggling out yesterday, 10 laps and I was pagged, so we'll see if we can get there.
Best of luck, Jake. Great to see you back, and I know you're going to do well, mate. Great stuff.
Thank you very much.
Interesting insight from Jay there, wasn't it?
Can I just say,
Yeah.
Now he is a very, very fit, athletic young man.
This is the point you're going to make. When we were going to hire one of these carts in Dubai,
Yes.
and you said to me, you'll be gone in 3 laps.
Yes.
And I said, no, I won't. And then in the end, we didn't hire the cart for financial reasons because it was ridiculously expensive. So we never found out if I'd be gone in 3 laps. But
What do you reckon?
Well, if he's gone in 10, I'd be gone in 2.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good point you make because there is an awful lot of work being done around this track. There's very little. The main straight is laughably short, isn't it? Really, compared to most kart tracks. So you've got a very small amount of rest.
The main start-finish straight is the place that you really only get a chance to take a breath.
Yeah,
and
it's not very long, is it?
And it's not very long. And everywhere else, like Jay said, you're always turning, and because you're always turning, you've always got some kind of G-force pushed on your body somewhere. And when you do that, you kind of tense up and you kind of hold your breath. I mean, even the great Dario Franchitti, he mentioned that he holds his breath.
Yeah,
that's the corners.
That's the corners at Indianapolis. So
Yeah, no, but it's all right. Okay,
No, I know.
We're getting there, though.
I know.
It's the
because
G.
John did 2 corners and broke his rib, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. This is the kind of forces that you have exerted on you.
Yeah.
And so, over the course of 10 minutes and 1 lap, we're doing 12 laps, 13 laps there from the junior Rotax guys. 13 laps around here.
I know.
And by tomorrow, by this, we're getting towards the end of the heat. So this is the last run for the 177s. So you can imagine just how physical it would be if we crammed all of these heats, pre-finals and finals, into the one day.
Yeah,
I think it's a great idea to put them across 2 days and give us 2 days of entertainment.
The other thing about the track, which is interesting, because we're in a different place than we were last February. You appreciate it's actually not flat at all. there's a lot of up and down. It's not like you're not climbing a huge hill, but the track is not flat. And more importantly, there's a lot of corners which are on camber, and a couple which are off camber as well, which you can see from this low level. You probably aren't getting that from the cameras, but from this low level, I mean, the actual drop in height between when you go through the Gasworks hairpin, it's got to be what, 6 feet? You actually drop around that corner.
Yeah, I think so. I would say so.
You know, and that's, I think, is interesting. We've seen a couple of guys who've been defending through the Gasworks hairpin, and they've drifted wide. Well, that's because they're also turning and going downhill at the same time.
They're going downhill, yeah.
And there's only so much there is so much grip the tyres can give. But yeah, I mean, the only really flat bit is the first part is the first part of the centre hairpin. The rest of it, you're always either on a camber or you're going uphill slightly or downhill slightly, and it takes this ability to see the track laid out when you're very low, as we are here at this in the media centre at the far left of the circuit. So we're actually staring down the gun of the main straight, aren't we?
I think the iconic part of Warden Law is the first sequence of bends. So we call it turn 1, and then we go into the left-hand sweep of Brian's Bend, which leads into the very sweet. It's kind of fast. It's not even medium speed. It's very fast, that first right-hander, and you come flying out of that. You've got to try and take the first corner as fast as possible with just maybe a tiny bit of a lift, and maybe a little cover of the brake, and you get straight back on the throttle, and the card goes from through a right-hander, through a left-hander, through another right-hander. The changes of direction is what really saps the focus and the concentration, because you come out of that right-hand first part of the dogleg, and you've got to get the thing slowed down. But the thing's changing direction as well. And for me, just, if you get the opportunity to come here and spectate, or even come here and try out the karts for yourself, all right, they're quite a lot slower than what we're seeing here this weekend, but you'll get a great insight as to what the physicality of driving on a track is all about.
I've done proper karting, as you have, and I've done fun karting, and the great thing about karting is it always seems fast.
Yeah,
even what the 40 miles an hour. It always seems to be fast as they go out. Now, the reason they were held for so long is actually was a trail of parked junior karts. They've managed to clear that now, so finally the 177s can get out, the heavies for their 7-car race. But, yeah, I mean, I would recommend, if you're watching, have a go. Even if you just do indoor karting, it always looks quick. And it feels quick.
When you get all over the ground.
If you get in a proper racing car, and I haven't been in a racing car for 25 years, and last time I was in a racing car, penultimate time I was in a racing car, I fell out and dislocated my shoulder. So
I think we're going to make that happen.
Excellent.
See how many laps you last without oxygen.
3.
Karts in the 177
27
senior Rotax class are already out there. Nathan Schaefer is on the pole position. Matty Easton is second. Matty took the win in heat number 1. Henry Ayres, current British champion, is in third spot with Jay Taylor, the comeback kid, in 4th. Stephen Horner, local lad, alongside Callum Porter in 5th and 6th. And Keith Mason, race winner here in the club series, is rounding off the 7-kart field. So the smallest grid of the programme, however, not necessarily going to not entertain us and give us a great race. Lights have gone out, and it's Nathan Schaefer with Matty Easton round the inside, outside, and chops across the front, made it stick. Matty Easton, of course, former British champion himself and local to this track, so he knows where the cambers are, what you mentioned, Nick, and he made that stick into turn 1.
Easton probably got a bit fed up seeing the back of Schaefer because Schaefer's a bit fed up seeing the back of Easton because he was looking at the back of his kart the entire to the first heat in him in the orange 99 kart. Nathan Schaefer's got this kart. Matthew Easton's got his kart set well in the number 3, so he's out in the lead. But already I would expect that 99 orange kart to try and get past as soon as possible, because just because he got held back, he actually got slightly out of alignment there. And Jay Taylor had a little bit of a sniff there going up the inside, coming out the exit hairpin. But as they go across the front of the start-finish line at the end of lap 1, it is going to be a good lap from all of them. Again, they've broken that 2 again. They've got the top 4 on the bottom. They've broken into 2 little separate races.
Yeah, they have.
And it's Easton from Schaefer, from Taylor, from Ayres, and then a little bit of a gap to Callum Porter, Steve Horner and Keith Mason.
It's the same script as Heat 1, where we saw these 4 break away, and Jay Taylor. Now, Jay Taylor last time lost out to Henry Ayres, who moved ahead and into 3rd place, and then you saw these breaking away. It doesn't look like that's going to happen this time, though, with these first 4 karts absolutely line astern, nose to tail, 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, out onto the curving back straight into the gasworks, and this is where we see Jay Taylor challenging down the inside. He didn't quite make it stick there, but he's in racing mood, Jay Taylor. He didn't like coming 4th in that first heat. He's very keen on improving his finishing position for this one.
Well, I think you've got several. Yeah, this top batch, this top quartet, I think are pretty evenly matched. But it's about where you start, isn't it? And it's about how you drive. I'm pretty sure that any one of them thinks if I was in the lead, I could control that race and I could keep the others behind me. As it is, it's Easton who's got his kart set brilliantly for the first couple of laps, who gets ahead. See, not really gapping, and then just sits there going, "Well, go and have a go." And because they're older, larger, and more sensible, they haven't so far. But who knows what will happen later on?
Well, it seems to be the case, and we saw Matty Easton holding off Nathan Schaefer for pretty much the duration of that first 8, and it's into this section of the track where they are now, into the absolutely last of the late breakers. They're using all of the road on the left-hand side of the track there, where it just slightly widens there. That's where you point the kart and then turn right into that downhill sweeping hairpin. These 4, though, Nick, they're exactly in the same position as they have been. Lap 3 completed, into lap 4 now.
Jay Taylor was having another little look at Nathan Schaefer. And I think, I'm going to put my neck out here, and I think Nathan Schaefer's the fastest of these 4, but he can't get to the lead. If he got clear air, but if some butts don't, butter no parsnips, as they say. So it's still Matthew Easton who's leading. Yes, they do say that. So it's still Matthew Easton who's leading with Nathan Schaefer in second. But I mean, this is actually, this kind of appeals to the endurance person in me. They're not kind of scrappy away change. Oh, what a mistake! Big mistake by Easton there. Just went far too wide. He opened the door. The door wasn't so much ajar as Taylor was hinged and taken down to a different room entirely. And through went Schaefer, and he's got the lead. What happened?
Just slides wide. Just
too wide.
Just snags the end of the curb where there's no traction whatsoever. And he really needs that outside left-hand rear wheel to give him traction, and he lost that traction. And there we saw that position change. So Schaefer leads, Easton second, Jay Taylor, Henry Ayres, Stephen Horner, Callum Porter and Keith Mason. That's the 7-kart field. But the battle, the attention is very much at the first 4.
And now you'll find out if I'm right. And can Schaefer pull away in clear air?
This is where, and you know what? That's the biggest gap we've seen.
There is an element here in this. There is always, to give Murray Walker one of his most famous, quotes, it's much easier to follow than to lead. And instantly, we're watching Easton not being dropped by Schaefer. So Easton now can judge his braking points with the extra security. You can always just tap the front of Schaefer, but they're now nailed together again, all 4 of them.
And the other one of Murray Walker's famous sayings, it's one thing catching someone's a different thing overtaking. We don't see that in Formula One. That's thanks to DRS. Let's not start that debate.
DRS, yes.
This is pure. This is absolutely pure racing.
It took an error, because I don't believe that Easton would have got past, so Schaefer would have got past Easton without that error.
You're right.
And now Easton is fired up because he knows he's made a mistake. He knows that was unnecessary. Just over-enthusiastic application of the throttle coming out of the second part of the centre hairpin. But the good news is he's got just about half the race to make it back. Jay Taylor has sat with us. And then he's lost it. It's a nice move there by Ayres. I mean, it came from sort of nowhere, but Taylor, interestingly, hadn't really gained as a result of the swap of first and second, and now he's down to 4th.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a textbook move by Henry Ayres. Came out of St John's, the left-hander, and then down the inside into the centre hairpin. First of 2 hairpins there, and that's the braking opportunity, or the out-braking opportunity, I should say. We're at half distance now, Nick, as they come out onto the start-finish straight. 6 laps completed. Nathan Schaefer leads. Matty Easton second. Henry Ayres now up into 3rd place. Jay Taylor 4th. And the question is, can Henry Ayres have a go at Matty Easton? Matty carrying the number 3. That's because he finished 3rd in the British Championship. Henry Ayres carrying the number 1. Guess why? Well, he came 1st in the British Championship. So we've got the very top level of 177 Rotax karting here at Warden Law this weekend, and they're battling it out at the front of the field. They're not letting Schaefer get away from them, and Jay Taylor beginning to drop back now.
Is this fitness? Is this fitness?
Well, he did question his own fitness, didn't he?
It's hot. It's the 4th or 5th time he's been out today. He's trying to hang on to a British champion, ex-British champion, and a club champion, and he's drifting backwards. He was able to hold with him, but as soon as he lost that place to Henry, he's dropping back. More importantly, Henry managed to instantly bridge the gap to Matthew Easton in the exactly identical car, which is annoying. But luckily, the orange kart of Nathan Schaefer leads this. But you kind of now see the fastest kart there is Henry Ayres, but he's got a big issue, and that's getting past Easton to get anywhere near the leader.
And Easton is really, really good on the brakes here. He knows absolutely the last possible moment you can touch the brakes, especially at the key points, which is we're about to go into that key point, and that's round at the Gasworks hairpin, out of the chicane then, through the right-hand sweep. And look at the braking area there, just where the track widens. Oof. And look at Henry Hayes right on the bumper of Matty Easton. Both of those cars on the absolute edge of their grip. Into the final turn for the 8th time then. 8 laps completed. Nathan Schaefer crosses the line in the lead. Matty Easton second. Henry Hayes. Can Henry Hayes have a go at that second place? That's the question.
Yeah, and I think Easton has gone a little bit defensive because he's lost a little bit to Schaefer in that lap, hasn't he? So Schaefer just gapped him slightly.
I think it's funny, isn't it? They don't actually make a move on one another, but because they get close and they start being aware of one another,
the focus goes to behind you rather than ahead. And look,
and that's why Schaefer's moving ahead.
That's the biggest lead anyone's had in any of the races in this class.
Yeah.
And it's only because the second and third are scrapping.
Yeah, but it's very. I see this all the time in karting where they just, they're absolutely on the edge there into the braking area and through that corner, and yet that's allowing Schaefer to move ever so slightly away, and that's like you say, Nick, that's the biggest gap we've seen. They've got 2.5 minutes on the clock, pretty much. So still plenty of racing to go, and still plenty of opportunity. For Henry, and Henry Hayes has moved ahead.
Yeah, it's got ahead of Easton, yeah.
When did that happen?
I don't know. Do you know what? I've just watched that, seen it happening. It must have sneaked through at the bottom of the hairpin. Problem is they're identical cars. Let's see it again. So where did this?
We're going to try and have a look at that again.
We can find. I know we can see it. The boys are trying to find it.
Right. I think I was looking at the timing screen and I blinked and I missed it.
I've just been informed by the producer. Joe and I were talking about concentration. Both didn't look at the screen. They went past.
Yeah, I was looking at the timing screen.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
It's Paul. So what has happened is Henry Hayes, as I thought, is the fastest person. Well, I'll go gather my pride back. Yeah, I thought Henry Hayes was the fastest. Now he's got past East. He's right on the turn there in Schaefer. I predicted that if I didn't see the move.
Yeah, he's still got time to have a go here. Just over a minute of race time left, and then 1 lap, remember. 10 minutes and 1 lap duration, these heats. Into the first of the centre hairpins. It's a 180-degree turn. Slightly less than 180 degrees is the second centre hairpin, but then that's curving entry into the back chicane, using all the curb and more there for Schaefer. Henry Ayres follows his wheel tracks. Can Ayres have a go on the brakes into the Gasworks hairpin? No, is the answer. Using all the road on the exit and through that never-ending neck-breaking horseshoe. 1, 2, and 3 apexes, and then into the final turn, out onto the start-finish straight then. 11 laps completed. This is Henry Ayres having a go at Nathan Schaefer. Nathan Schaefer is fully aware, absolutely nothing between them through turn 1 and into Brian's Bend. First part of the dogleg, and it's nose to tail. If anything, Matty Easton just dropping slightly off, losing a bit of time, using the curbs on the exit there. And we'll be getting down to last lap board next time by for these drivers. Out of the second centre hairpin then towards the back chicane. Nathan Schaefer leads. Henry Isins in second. This is where he'll want to get the momentum out of the chicane and maybe have a go on the brakes down the inside. No, not quite enough. As Nathan Schaefer, he did this in the first heat, didn't he? Trying to chase Matty Easton. There was absolutely nothing in it. Matty Easton, though, having dropped a third, just hasn't got the pace to get back on terms with the 2 karts in the lead. It's the last lap board now.
And they've really dropped Jay Taylor. So Jay, who was with him the first half of the race, has dropped off like 6 seconds from the lead. And that's, I'm sure, is just down to, physical effort more than anything else.
He's dropped to a second a lap off his pace.
And then Schaefer now just didn't take the entry into St John's right, and he's managed to have a little bit of a search about. And what's happened is he's actually lost momentum for both of them, and suddenly Easton's all over Ayres because the Schaefer made a mistake and they've gone too tight there in a very, very tight line from Ayres to try and block Easton. That's going to guarantee Schaefer will win this race because suddenly the teammates, the identity painted karts, are scrapping with each other, and that was a bit of a get-out-of-jail-free for Schaefer because they go side by side but no change of position for second and third. Schaefer made a mistake but actually tripped up the karts behind him more than himself.
Yeah.
So nice way to win a race. Ayres has had to settle for second because he lost that momentum, and third is Easton in the 177 Heat 2. But again, sensible racing from I'm saying they're older, they're just larger, aren't they?
Well, you know what? You've got a very high standard of driver here this weekend. And that's why we're having such great and close racing with very clean moves. Nathan Chafer takes a very fine heat number 2 win. Henry Ayres, current British champion, second. Matty Easton was in third. Jay Taylor came through in fourth. Stephen Horner will finish fifth. Callum Porter in sixth. And Keith Mason dropped out early after 5, 6, 8 laps. On lap 8 is when we lost Keith Mason.
So we are now getting ready for the last race of the day. A day which has been, I have to admit, under fabulous weather conditions. Marvellous sunshine. However, and I'm going to get my latest report of what the weather will be like tomorrow, because I think it's very key on this point. We need to think about the weather for tomorrow. And they are saying...
Just talk amongst yourselves, everybody.
Well, no, because it's important, because I have to... This is a link.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a link there.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Yeah, so we have... It's basically predicted to showery right to the end of the day, where it's definitely going to rain. Now, the biggest change when it rains is you need a different tyre. And Joe tapped some tyres earlier today.
Weather plays a huge part, no matter what form of motorsport you might be driving in, and equally so in karting. At the moment, we've got changeable track conditions. There's nothing worse than wet, dry, wet, dry. Why? Because we have to change tyres. At the moment, this kart is running the slick tyres. This kart just coming off the track. You see how the slick tyre, the rubber virtually melts. It's so sticky. That's why this track is so physical. This is such sticky rubber. You feel like your neck's coming off. These are going to give you maximum grip because you've got the maximum amount of rubber on the track giving you that grip. Now then, what do we do when it rains? I'll tell you what we do. We put on our treaded rain tyres. Completely different, as you can see. Now, these tyres are made with a tread pattern, just like your road car. And as they wear down, they disappear. That's when you have to change to a new set of wets. The problem is, of course, if it's wet when you start, these are great. But if it then dries, this compound of rubber is so soft, it just burns off, and eventually you've got absolutely no grip. If it stays wet, these are the tyres to have.
And for all the fans of Radio Le Mans and Radio Limited, I have to say, Joe, and the tyres.
I think I've got a new hobby, Nick.
Oh, I know, tyre patching.
Tyres.
I know to buy you for your birthday now. A nicely inflated tyre you can slap to yourself.
I've got a garage full of them.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good point. We've had absolutely glorious weather today, much to my
I thought
chagrin.
you were going to tell us the weather forecast for tomorrow.
I did. You missed it. It was involved in that link. The weather forecast for tomorrow, we'll now do it properly. We are on air at 10 to 11, everyone. 10 to 11. I will mention that several more times before we come off the air. And it's supposed to sort of start raining about 10 or 11, then it's dry at lunchtime, and then it's sort of maybe raining all during the afternoon till it's really, really rainy at the end of the afternoon. So it's the chance of rain is very, 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 very high, but it does seem to be showers, so we could have some excellent wet, dry races.
It's going to be a race mechanic's nightmare where you're going to be in the gridding area. You're going to see wet tyres or dry tyres off the carts. You may even see carts being wheeled to the gridding area without any tyres whatsoever, if it's that changeable. And it's a bit of a nightmare for control tyres. I think what happens is we keep them in the corral, the tyre corral, until that decision is made. So the worst thing is that if you are... It's great for us, Nick, because we're in the entertainment business. So if you've got a race that starts in the dry and then all the way through, halfway through, we get a downpour.
Fantastic.
It's just...
They'll be falling off.
It's just chaos.
Marvellous.
It's
I don't want to tempt
chaos.
chaos, but can we have that, please?
And, you know, you know what? If it's raining tomorrow afternoon, after lunch, when we have the finals, which is when we award the O-Plate could come down to a complete and utter lottery.
Excellent. Again.
Entertainment.
Motorsport is entertainment. I know the competitors are trying to win things, but for the rest of it's just entertainment.
Absolutely.
It needs, and there's nothing more entertaining than racing.
And our final piece of entertainment is the final heat, in fact, final heat of the day, and final heat of the event. because tomorrow we go into the repechage and our
Finals.
pre-finals and finals. So right now in the collecting area, gridding up, are our senior Rotax 162 for groups A and B. This is the third and final heat. Second and final heat for some of the runners. In fact, second and final heat for all of the runners.
And they've all had one run. So it's even Stevens on
Even
tyres.
Stevens this time. George Holbrook will again start on the pole position with alongside Lewis Gilbert. James Lowther. Let's have a look at their lap times, by the way. 1 minute. Sorry, not 1 minute. Where am I? Donington Park.
Yeah.
Lap time for George Holbrook, 49.125. Lap time for Lewis Gilbert, 49.135. Incredible. 1/100th of a second difference. That's how close we're going to be right now in front of us. It's going to be such a race. James Lowther is third with alongside Rhys Hurd. Teddy Clinton is fifth with Matty Hingley alongside him on row 3. Rhys Hunter, former All-Plate champion, is in 7th, or will start 7th. 8th is Matthew Higgins. 9th is Sean Butcher and Kieran Kay alongside him in 10th. Row 6 is Kern Sang with Magic Hamera in 12th on row 6. Row 7 is James Johnston and Spencer Shinner. Row 8, Edward Matthews and Oliver Meadows. Archie Brown and Harry Gibson are on row 9. Andy Powell and Andrew Trevor are on row 10. Thomas Liatukis and Samuel Hawthorne are on row 11. Nicole Sutherland starts 23rd. And the final runner, Harry Holland, who unfortunately didn't post a time in qualifying, so will start on the back of the grid. So, how far off are we from a green flag? I'm not sure.
Well, they've cleared that part of it. It's just when there's no one on the track, I think everything's fine. They're just waiting to give them a gentleman start your engines, and gentlemen ladies, of course, start your engines, and go from there.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. And gives us an opportunity to talk about Karting North East, who are the owners of this track. And if you like what you're seeing on the live stream and you fancy seeing what it's like from the perspective of the driving seat, then Karting North East is the place to come with all sorts of packages. You can hire a car for 15 minutes, and they're a lot easier to drive than the Rotax classes, what we're seeing this afternoon.
No, I want to drive those ones. I want the danger.
We're going to make that happen.
Okay.
But if you want a taste of karting and kart racing, there's even Karting North East leagues and the like, and they run programs suited to pretty much everybody's level of experience. So to get a taste, come down to Warden Law Kart Circuit. Karting North East will sort out your needs for a bit of a taster.
The 87 carts had a problem leaving the collecting area.
That's Thomas Liatukis.
And he's now been wheeled back into the collecting area as they begin to gather up for this final heat of the day, the third heat of the 162. So whoever's in 5th place there was completely out of an amazing bit of warming up there from the 6th cart.
So Dan Holland driver George Holbrook on the pole position, starting as one of the favourites. In a very strong position, George.
The 87 cart's got going, but it'll never catch up the back in the time.
We might send them round again, and if Ken, who's in charge of proceedings across there in our camera corral, may get the field being sent around to give George a chance to Thomas, I should say, in the number 87, a chance. We'll see, though, because Ken might release them. And we do indeed release them, and we go racing, and George Holbrook leaves the door wide open. And almost contact there, Nick.
There was a lot of bumping and boring and side-by-side action just underneath it. It's the first I've really had a good old stare at the real world rather than the TV. And it was all going on. Elbows out everywhere. But where's that left in the lead? Is it Holbrook in the lead, or we've got to change at the front?
Well, I think it's Holbrook who's leading, yes, into the second of the centres. We'll just get a look at the numbers as they come through. It's the number 44 of James Lowther.
Matty Hingley's got up to 3rd from crossing the line in 5th.
Well, it was Lowther who tried to squeeze down the inside into turn 1 and just didn't have enough room, did he? And you know what? I thought, step back, everybody, because that's not going to work. And how they made it through turn 1 and into Brian's Bend, I do not know. But it's all settled down by the time they get back to us on the start-finish straight. And let's just have a rundown as the whole field pour across the line. Holbrook leads, Lowther in 2nd, Matty Hingley in 3rd, Lewis Gilbert 4th.
Gilbert's already got 3rd. He's just gone up the inside of Matty Gilbert there, and his Tony Cart's got up the inside.
So a change there. Matty Higgins is 5th, Teddy Clinton 6th, Rhys Hurd 7th, Sean Butcher is in 8th, Kieran Kay in 9th, Rhys Hurd down to 10th.
And they just slid it back in. Beautiful turn 1 move there.
Yeah, it really was. nearly came to contact each other there, but just avoided that. The first four, though, breaking away there. A little bit of a gap in the challenge for second there.
Nice. Is he going? Yeah.
Slides wide.
That looked uncomfortable. That looked really uncomfortable for the second place man, James Lowther. He bounced over, got eased out, and then went right over the curb. That looked really, really uncomfortable. We'll see this again now. A nice inside move by, I think it's
Matthew
Higgins. But look at this bump that's coming up now. He comes off the curb. Bang!
That's put him back in fifth.
That'd be a 1x and some pit work if it's iRacing.
Yeah, that's put him back. James Lowther now in fifth there. Holbrook leads, Gilbert in second, Hingley is in third, Matthew Higgins in fourth, and James Lowther down to fifth. He's got Teddy Clinton all over the back of him there, though, and still with just under 8 minutes to go. It's quite action-packed, isn't it? It's we're seeing a little bit of change of attitude here, with importance being put on place finishes in this second heat, the last heat of the day.
Well, these guys already know the points achieved by a third of the field because they've had their two heats. So they know where they need to be they can pitch what number of points they need to get to a certain qualifying position. Holbrook out leading, Gilbert second, Matthew Hingley third. Lowther now picked up third. Higgins is now in fifth. That was fourth, sorry. But it's calmed down after the frenetic opening. Top three quite close together. Holbrook, I think, is controlling Joe rather than being heavily pressurised. What do you think?
Well, it always looks that at this stage, and it's a case of just being patient and just controlling the race. Remember, there's still an element of tyre management going on. They've still got to make these tyres last into tomorrow, all the way to tomorrow afternoon. So still got 2 races at least on this set of tyres, and we will see whether or not anybody is in a position to maybe challenge for position. And it doesn't look like it. Line astern they come out onto the start-finish straight to complete lap number 4. And as they go into turn 1, that high-speed train goes through. Holbrook leads, Lewis Gilbert second, Hingley third, fourth is Lowther. Teddy Clinton and Sean Butcher are up ahead of Matthew Higgins into 5th and 6th. Reese Hunter now up into 8th, James Johnson 9th, and Kieran Kay.
And up the inside goes
10th.
Gilbert into the lead. So he just dived at the inside of the centre hairpin there. Holbrook half opened the door, but that's gone through. And so Gilbert's been a big gainer all throughout this race. So it's Gilbert now from Holbrook, and now Matty Hingley's all over the back of Holbrook as well. So it could be losing 2 in a couple of corners. Though Holbrook goes very defensive going into the hairpin there. He's not going to let that the red car of Matty Hingley get past. He's already been surprised by Gilbert earlier in the lap.
Yes, Gilbert certainly caught him unawares there, and if anything, Nick, he's pulled out a little bit of a cushion there because he's dropped, just dropped Holbrook just off the rear bumper of that leading number 29 now as they go through Brian's Bend and towards the dogleg. Gilbert leads, Holbrook second, and Holbrook coming under pressure now from Matty Hingley as they go down towards the left-hander, the off-camber left-hander at St John's. That fires them towards the first of the left-hand hairpins, the first of the centre hairpins, into centre 2. And out towards the back chicane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kart battle now at the front of this field, with coming up to half distance. And shall we see a challenge? No, not even anyone defensively driving. That indicates to me, Nick, that they've kind of settled in now. They're going to let this race just pan out a little bit.
I think Hingley's still going to have a word about George Holbrook. I think Hingley saw what Gilbert did, and he's going to wait and see if he can replicate the error from Holbrook and dive up the inside of the centre, because he was seeing exactly the move. He goes, I wish I'd been there. Because Holbrook just missed it slightly at the apex, and so there was a hole open. At the same time, actually, Fez Gilbert was going for it. So they come round now up through the second pot Dogley into St John's. This is the point where, look, a little bit more aggressive there, Hingley looking up the inside, but it's too far back this time. This is a major mistake, and there's not. And what's happening is there's a little break from Gilbert, and the other 4 are going nose to tail.
And is that because the second place kart of George Holbrook having to drive a little bit defensively and be aware that Matty Hingley is beginning to challenge? James Lowther's not too far away, and likewise Teddy Clinton hanging on to the back of James Lowther. But it is indeed the leader beginning to eke out a little bit of a cushion. In fact, quite a bit of a cushion. Let's see where it looks like time-wise. It'll be 7 laps completed then across the line. And the clock says half a second. So that's the biggest gap we've seen all day in this class. And that battle for second now developing as Lewis Gilbert gives himself a bit of a breather. And it's maybe at this point of the race where we will see things beginning to heat up. And drivers now just perhaps looking for an opportunity to mount a challenge.
Kart on the move is Rhys Hunter. He's just taken 6th place. He's come up from 10th a couple of laps ago. So he's found some pace. He's the guy who was O-Plate champion for about, an hour and a half last year until they had an argument with his brother. But he didn't start well, but he's slowly crawling up. Now he's in 6th. He's off the back of this pack, but very quickly moving forward after being held up with the traffic he was in.
Yeah, we'll see if Rhys can... Again, he'll want to get those points for the pre-final and the final. And just being able to start on equal terms with the drivers ahead of him. He's dropped back a little bit from that 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th place pack. As we continue on then, and Lewis Gilbert quite increased the lead there to 6/10 from 5/10.
And there,
little bit of a move.
Little move there. Good one by James Lowther. Just kind of half nudged out of the way. Going into the hairpin, see it now, going to a different angle.
Yeah, lovely angle.
Up there, and he just nudged him out of the way. It wasn't really a mistake by Matty, but he wasn't also given a chance to get it back.
It's momentum out of the left-hander at St John's that enabled him to get it down the inside and alongside Hingley. And he's made that move stick. And I was just mentioning there where we're getting towards that point in the race where there's going to be an element of urgency now coming in with just over 2 minutes remaining. And if you want to get more points and get yourself further up the grid for the pre-final, this is where that opportunity is coming to rest.
Hunter in 6th was half a second faster than Clinton in 5th. So he's bridging that gap. And a lot of it is not necessarily ground speed for Hunter as much as they are tripping over each other in this 3rd, 4th, 5th battle. But he's got a chance. Hunter's dragging Sean Butcher with him, so he may end up with a 7-car train before the end of the final 2 minutes here.
That's fantastic news. The 7 carts going.
So in fairness, our leader is away. Gilbert has really put some...
Yeah.
Gilbert's schooled these guys, and that's going to worry them, because if you've got that pace now, he might have that pace tomorrow, and if they can't match it, even though it'll be very different conditions, even if it doesn't rain, it'll be much cooler. Gilbert suddenly looking really good.
Yeah, because once he got into that lead and had clear air in front of him, he just kind of had the pace. The gap's out almost a second there to George Holbrook. So Lewis Gilbert continues to improve and eke out an even bigger gap. Holbrook looking like he's pulled out a bit of a gap on James Lowther. Now, I thought James Lowther would get straight onto the the rear bumper of George Holbrook, and he hasn't made that amount of progress.
Hingley stopped in another position. Hingley's been overtaken by Clinton. So Clinton's got Hingley for 4th and 5th. I think that was at the centre hairpin again, and I think that in doing that, that's put Hunter almost exactly on their tail and have a spread out selection of carts.
And Hunter's bringing Sean Butcher with him, isn't he? So
let's just drop it. Can we pick up the 4th place cart? It's we've got the red cart behind him. It's the 4th place cart of car number 6, Teddy Clinton, with Matty Hinkland behind him.
Yeah, they've just swapped positions. So Teddy Clinton, first time through in 4th.
But look at Hunter coming towards both of them.
Yeah,
and they've got this lap and one more, or it might get 2 actually. It's
I'm not
when
sure
when the leader goes across.
I'm not sure what the clock said when the Lewis Gilbert
said 9:13.18, so it's 47 seconds. So no, I think he's just going to miss it. So they will be starting their final lap next time around.
Yeah, 1 lap to go, and just look at that battle closing up. Teddy Clinton, Matty Hingley, Rhys Hunter, Sean Butcher, all beginning to close up together. That's allowed George Holbrook and James Lowther to break away. We thought we might see James Lowther
definitely
have a little
lap.
look.
Rhys Hunter's going to be sitting there thinking, I wish there was a couple more laps. But
that's what he needs, isn't it?
In fairness, what's actually happened is because Clinton and Hingley aren't battling, the amount of gain that Hunter made behind in the blue and the yellow car was a bit less this time. But I would think there's going to be some scratching of heads because Gilbert's made this look really easy.
Yeah, he has. He's got the pace. He's got that kart handling really well, and he's driving very, very well indeed. The gap between first and second is exactly on the 1 second mark. So he's maintained that gap. Once he got there, he hasn't dropped back at all, and he's maintained that pace and managed this race. He's into the horseshoe for the final time then, and it's not looking like anyone's in a position to change position as Lewis Gilbert comes out of the final turn for the final time for the day. Lewis Gilbert wins. It's a very fine Dan Holland, George Holbrook second, James Lowther is in 3rd, Teddy Clinton 4th, Matty Hingley finished 5th, Rhys Hunter 6th, Sean Butcher 7th, James Johnson was in 8th, 9th is Matthew Higgins, rounding off the top 10 is Magic Hamera, and then just looking outside of the top 10 Reese Hurd was 11th, Kieran Kate 12th, Archie Brown finished 13th, 14th was Kern Sang, Harry Holland was 15th, Spencer Shinner 16th, Samuel Hawthorne 17th, Edward Matthews 18th, Harry Gibson 19th, Andrew Trevor 20th, 21st was Andy Powell, Thomas Liatukis, who we saw have problems on the warming up lap, finished 22nd, and then retirements after 8 laps. Nicole Sutherland dropped out and Oliver Meadows didn't complete 1 lap. That rounds off the 24 kart field.
And rounds off the qualifying action here at Warden Law for the British O-Plate. So, well, I have to say, Joe, we've had 7 fantastic races.
We have. And you know what? There wasn't even a trophy for them.
No, and all this has just been to set the grid for the repechage, the pre-finals, which will be on tomorrow. Now, we are back on air here at Warden Law at 10 to 11 UK time. So if you're watching us worldwide, please do your adjustment there. So in Europe, it's 10 to 12. Joe and myself will be bringing you all the action from 1 repechage, 4 pre-finals and 4 finals. They've got 9 races. You even get a little lunch break as well between the pre-finals and the finals. What can be a better way? What better way of spending your day before you watch the European Championship final, eh, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. That's certainly how we're going to spend our day, Nick.
Yes.
And yeah, there's another big sporting event on as well as the O-Plate, and we'll talk about that tomorrow, I think.
Just time now before we go off air to say thank you to our cameraman. That is Jake Bateman, it's Ash Leontine, and it's Harry Bamford. Thank you to Paul/Peter Bateman, who's been producing, and of course James Parry, who has been plugging in 2,500 tons of equipment non-stop. Thank you to Joe, who's been, I say co-commentator, but lead commentator really.
And our runner, John Magnus,
John Magnus,
who we recruited onto the team very much at the last moment.
My name's Nick Damon. This is RC Racing TV. We'll be back tomorrow with even more top-tastic karting action. But until then, goodbye. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.